didn't see it right away, and it ended up being when we got off the show.
Yeah.
I looked at the number and it said restricted, so I couldn't call it back. There was no number there to call back. And what it ended up being is that was the police. So
and not Sting.
No. This was like, put you in jail police. So we got off the show and then finally found out about a half hour later that Adrian had been arrested. We had an absolutely chaotic weekend with Adrian being in jail and out of jail, and media just going crazy, contacting me and contacting him. And it finally died down about, probably Tuesday morning, and then chaos ensued yesterday. But a different kind of chaos.
Yeah. Not a good kind either.
No, not at all.
And there are some kinds of chaos that I do consider to be good, but this wasn't one of them.
This wasn't one of them.
And it's like the wrong time too. Like, can everything happen at the wrong time? You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like we'll get it all done. But damn.
Like right before convention. And for anyone who doesn't know, like today is the start of the Libertarian Party of Florida convention. It's going to be not here in Tampa, because we're not actually in Tampa, but we're a little outside of Tampa. So it's pretty much in our backyard if your backyard was 50 miles long.
We are in Tampa Bay, so to most people, we're in the same area.
It's in the region.
We're in the metro area.
It's in the region.
But the big news from the week that we didn't get to talk about on last week's show because the police were calling as we were on air was Adrian getting arrested.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I knew you were going to do
that. No. Look, we don't need to tell the whole story. Hold on. Let's tell the story. For years, Adrian was battling Real ID. And what he's done in order for his own personal little civil disobedience is that Adrian decided that he was going to turn his license in years ago. Now, when he did this, he called every law enforcement agency to try to get him to pull him over. For months, they wouldn't even pull him over. So what he did in order to step up his game is he called out the sheriff.
On the show.
So they needed the Stones to pull him over. Sheriff said...
Wait. No. You have to say that a little slower for people who weren't listeners back in 2011. What did he say of the sheriff?
He said, you don't have the Stones to pull me over.
Yes. He called his manhood into question.
Right.
He did call his manhood into question. And Sheriff Coates, who is retired now, who is no longer the sheriff.
You think he retired because of Adrian?
No, he didn't retire. No.
It would be nice if we could even allude to that, but no. That's not
it would be nice.
I'm just saying.
It actually had more. It had way more to do with politics than it had to do with Wiley, though.
Yeah.
The reason he resigned is because what they do typically when it comes to these sheriff candidates in the Republican-controlled state of Florida is that they have the sheriff retire early, appoint the guy that they want to be next, so when that guy runs, he's running as the incumbent to give the Republican the advantage.
Yeah, and that happened in 3 counties.
Pinellas, Pasco, and
Hernando.
Yeah. It happened in all 3 counties.
It happens quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, not happy with the way those things down, especially for Pasco, considering who we got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though all the deputies there have been very nice to me, so I can't really complain.
I can't complain, but I do know what you mean. But yeah, so Adrian said on air that Sheriff Coates did not have the Stones to pull him over. 4 hours later, he was surrounded by deputies. So Sheriff Coates, in fact, did have the Stones to pull him over.
Surrounded by deputies who knew him by first name.
Well, hold on. No, I will say this, though. Sheriff Coates didn't pull him over, so he had to send somebody else out there to do it.
Well,
so I guess you could still keep his Stones into question.
Because he did not leave his office.
He might have, but he wasn't. He might have, but he wasn't there at the time when he pulled him over. So it would have been really cool if Coates would have pulled him over himself.
That would have been awesome.
Kind of pulled a Christopher Walken off our True Romance.
Yeah.
I killed a guy since '86.
So at the time, because it had been under the 4 months, Adrian only received a traffic violation. It was just a $116 ticket of driving without a license. So if you drive without a license and it's been under 4 months, it's just a ticket. It's a ticketed offense. Although they don't let you drive away. They tell someone to come get you. But it's a ticketed offense. So he got a ticket. Fought it in court. They actually opened up a special courtroom just for him. The media was there. There was 3 prosecutors on the $116 traffic ticket.
Yeah.
You know, because that always happens. The most senior judge in the 6th Judicial Circuit presided over the $116 traffic ticket.
Yeah, because if you're going to have a $160 traffic ticket, you got to bring in the big guns.
You can't even renew your tag for that amount, by the way.
Yeah, not anymore.
So he ended up he did argue the constitutionality of Real ID. The judge did have to deliberate for a week on the $116 traffic ticket, and in a week he had come back with the ruling that Adrian had not proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Real ID was unconstitutional.
Yeah. Now, at that point, you could have started taking the case up there, but it was very, very difficult to do.
Well, because of the way a ticket like that is considered a civil infraction, not a criminal infraction.
Correct.
The burden of proof in a civil infraction is it more likely than not? So basically, if it's more likely than not that the law is justified, or if it's more likely than not that Adrian was driving without a license, then they could rule the way they did, because criminal court is completely different than civil infractions. So that's why Adrian knew after that happened that he had to take it to a criminal court, because the burden of proof in a criminal court is now not on the defendant, it's now on the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Correct.
So,
and you get a jury.
And you get a jury. You can opt for a jury trial.
Well, fast forward to about a couple weeks back. Well, no, it was probably about a month and a half ago, maybe. Hey, it was a month and a half ago? Tallahassee.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we talked about it on the air, so it was probably maybe 2 months ago.
Maybe 2 months ago.
It was right mid-session.
All right. So what happens is that Adrian's up in Tallahassee in the Senate side, up in the Senate offices, and they're going around talking to people about various issues. And one of the people that they run into in the crowd, or not in the crowd, but in the hallway, is Senator Jack Latvala.
Which is someone who I had gone into Senator Latvala's office to hand over our opposition to SB 130, which is this changes to stand your ground, which had been in his committee, had gone to another committee. They had made substantial changes, so it was going back to his committee. So I was in there to either speak with him or his aide on why we were opposed to changing stand your ground. As I was coming out of the office, Adrian and Jim were there waiting for me to come out. And Jack Latvala was coming down the hallway to his office. So Adrian, being a constituent, said, Senator Latvala, I'm one of your constituents. I'm Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for governor. But I'm not here for that. I'm here as your constituent. I just want to know how you feel about the changes to stand your ground. And Jack Latvala's response was, I haven't read them yet. And I said, he goes, I don't even know what you're talking about. I haven't read it yet. I'm not there yet. And I said, well, excuse me, Senator, but it's already been in your committee once. So are you saying that you didn't read it before you voted for it the first time? And he was very angry at that time. And then he was, kind of got a little more huffy and was like, if I voted for it, I voted for it. And kind of gave this, very angry justification for why he voted for it. And as he was walking away, Jim said to Adrian, what's his problem? And Adrian said very loudly in the hallway, in a very crowded hallway, don't worry about him. He's just an asshole.
Nice, by the way. I do like that. Because here's the thing. He's an asshole.
He is. Adrian's not lying or exaggerating or embellishing.
Look, you did great on the craft beer thing. I'll give you the ups for the craft beer thing, Senator Latvala. You did work towards not making sure that thing didn't happen. I'm hoping you were pure on that one and that you're not going to do something stupid later on. But with that being said, during the time frame that they're talking about, you were acting like an asshole.
Right.
So now let's fast forward a little bit more. Adrian is invited to an event, like a little hoity-toity kind of event. Like this is like level 2A of political events. This is one of those ones where it's like what was this group's name again?
It's the Intercultural Advocacy Organization.
Yeah, the Intercultural Advocacy Corporation, or What?
It's an organization.
Organization.
They're a charity.
Yeah, they're a charity because you need interculturals to be advocated for, I guess.
No. They advocate for opening community centers in low income areas
Using taxpayer funds.
No. This is a charity.
So, that's good. That's a good time.
This was a fundraiser.
They're probably trying to get a grant though.
This is the fundraiser for the charity. So they bring in a lot of the who's who in politics to be honorary guests, to be keynote speakers, and pay.
And they brought in Adrian.
And so they bring in a lot of people that are in the community but are well known. So they bring these people in as speakers. You pay $100 or so. And I don't know how much it cost to actually go there. Because Adrian was a guest, but it's a fundraiser, so you charge. It sounds like a lot of money for a lunch, but you're getting a meal, and the rest of the money is going to the charity. So they have these to raise money, and this was their annual. This was the 14th annual luncheon. Adrian was invited as an honorary guest. The original kind of. I don't even want to say invitation, but I guess it was like the original invitation and kind of program for the day did not have Adrian listed, but the person on the board who had invited Adrian actually had them change it 3 days before the event and send it out again with Adrian's name being on there as a guest.
Beautiful.
So, and this went out to Senator Latvala. It went out to all the people who were going to be at the luncheon. It didn't really go out very much further than that because this was kind of by invitation only that you could be there.
Yeah.
But everyone who was invited now got a new thing 3 days before the event that had Adrian's name on it.
Correct. And then at the same time, Latvala had friended Adrian on Facebook.
Yeah, just it was the exact day that he would have gotten this new revised program for the day was the same day that Senator Latvala friend requested Adrian on Facebook. Now Adrian called us and was like, "Well, should I accept it? I don't know if he really wants to be friends."
It's a trap.
And
you're right. It's a trap.
And I said, well, there's nothing on your page that you don't put on your public Facebook page on the Wiley for Governor page. So
might as well.
You might as well.
What's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt a honky?
Because anyone could go on the public Wiley for Governor Facebook page and see almost the exact same post.
You know what? And it is rude to not friend Santa. I'm just saying.
You may get coal in your stocking.
You may get coal in your stocking. Or thrown in jail.
Possibly.
So, all right, fast forward to the Friday, which is last Friday. Adrian is driving to this event. He starts going down the road, and he's getting close to the event, and then all of a sudden the cop gets behind him. Now the cop doesn't pull him there. Adrian goes, he parks. Second he parks, puts it in neutral. The cop flashes him because he followed him all the way to the parking lot. So Adrian knew what was going down. Like, he knew the business. So Adrian... the guy comes over, the police comes over and says, hey, driver, Mr. Wiley, do you have a driver's license on you? And Adrian at that point goes, no, I don't. And he goes, well, okay, hang on, let me call this thing in.
Well, I think, and he called him by name, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But here's the thing, though. He was behind him for a while. Your license plate's behind him.
But that doesn't necessarily...
He could have very easily looked it up and figured out who he is.
But
because the fact that you don't even need your driver's license registration to prove insurance because they look you up anyway. Like, what's the problem here? Yeah. You don't need to have those things because you've heard some of the police scanners where they go, his insurance is good. He's got a registration. That's okay. Over. Honestly, why do I got to give you the forms if you can look it up anyway? I'm just saying. It's completely side note. But they're just trying to be dicks at that point.
So, but they did call him by name. Mr. Wiley, do you happen to have a license on you? And of course, Adrian's like, well,
he should have said yes and pulled somebody else's license out.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's not mine.
Hold on a second.
Hold on, wait.
I'm not Bill Schmeichel.
He actually should have pulled out a pocket constitutions, and it's right here.
Oh.
Here's my concealed carry permit.
Or he should have put out his media press pass. Because he still got that. Self-made, by the way.
We should revoke that.
That's a good idea. I'm going to take that from him today when I see him.
Gonna pull an old Alec Baldwin. Don't you know who I am? Why do I need to give you ID? Don't you know who I am?
Don't you know who I am, boy?
So, Mr. Wiley, do you happen to have ID, driver's license on you? And of course, he's like, no. I'm surprised at that point he wasn't like, come on, me and you both know I don't have it.
Yeah. Let's not play this charade, guy.
Right?
We both know why we're here.
We both know why we're doing this, all right?
Yeah.
Just take out the cuffs, dude.
All right, so the police officer leaves and goes back to his squad car, then comes back and says, I'm going to be placing you under arrest. And then by this point, like 4 or 5 more cops show up. So it's a whole bunch of cops that are there. Now, Adrian said that the cops did treat him well, but the one thing that he said that he did not like is that they put the cuffs on him too hard.
It was a little too tight around his wrist.
around his wrist.
He's just never been arrested before and doesn't know how to wear handcuffs. he either needs a kinkier sex life or to cause more trouble.
Or both.
Or both.
Or both.
So he did say
because he's kind of boring at times when it comes to some things.
Yeah, he totally is.
But not in this though. In this, he's having he's good time Charlie right here.
Right.
Well, not good time Adrian, not good time Charlie, because Charlie's not a good time.
So
Charlie might be a good time, but I'm not really. I'm not. That's a whole different subject for a different day. Or on a boat with other people with white powder. All I'm saying.
So Adrian did say that they put the cuffs on a little tight, but they said they were actually really nice. And in fact, most of them, when they found out why they were there and who he was, they were like, "Oh, hey!" They were excited to see him.
Because deep down, they realize what the heck's going on. They're like, "Yeah, I don't like hearing that crap either."
So everyone was really nice. He was politicking while he was out there, Yeah,
it's really weird that when the guys that arrest you, when you you didn't commit a crime, that they wouldn't automatically vote against you for. Does that make sense? Vote against you for? Okay. So, he's trying to convince the people that are arresting him to vote for him on election day, and he actually thinks he might have been successful at achieving this task. That's just funny. If these guys vote, I want to really go back to these cops later on and find out if they actually voted for him or not. I'd love to find out what the percentage is. Right. Could you imagine if Adrian wins by 5 votes and these were the 5 guys that voted for him? How funny would that be, right? It would be the best thing ever.
So Adrian's totally campaigning as he's there. I'm Adrian Wiley, the Libertarian candidate for governor.
If you get in my back pocket, I'll give you a card.
So now one of the things they did take out his wallet, and they were going through some of his, well, I wouldn't say identification, but I guess
the contents of his wallet,
the other cards that are there. And they see an oath. They take a picture of his Oath Keeper's card with some other. He's got a bunch of stuff. Now they did ask him, "Are you a sovereign citizen?"
Yeah, and his response was,
"What's that?"
What are you talking about?
Yeah. He's like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." So, which I did think that was odd that they would ask, but I guess now that they're getting all this paper, these reports that say these,
Well, when you've seen the MIAC report,
yeah, so
there you go. It's proof the guy's seen. Look, and they're giving them the instructions, and I think Oath Keepers is listed as one of the hate groups. Actually,
yeah, I think so. So he's like, no,
yeah, because saying you're going to protect your oath that you took to the Constitution,
you're going to live up to your oath.
Somehow that was honestly, if you're an authoritarian psychopath, that is hate speech.
Yeah.
So Southern Public Law Center's a bunch of authoritarian psychopaths. I can understand why they put them on there.
So,
and I said it, Southern Public Law Center, do something about it.
He's going to do this all day.
He is. And
Probably.
I think he's doing it on purpose.
At this point, it's on purpose because it's funny.
I'm not having any fun.
I'm having fun, though. So.
Yeah, he's definitely having fun. I can see it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, though.
So they bring him into jail, and now they're, they book him and everything. Now, as he's going through processing, he's still campaigning.
Campaigning, boy, just working it.
Now, people are like, they see his press badge because that is his only form of identification. They're like, oh, now he's selling the radio show.
And he did use that to fly.
Yeah, and he did use it to fly. So he's like, oh yeah, I used to do the show. They still do it. It's great. And he's talking to, he's promoting the show.
Campaigning.
And campaigning
while
being arrested.
America. That's multitasking for you right
there. That is right there. So now he calls us. His one phone call is to us. And he says, call my wife, tell her not to worry. Don't post this on Facebook until you've gotten a hold of her.
Look, hold on. Now you're not telling the whole story.
Well, no, I'm kidding. Okay.
Hold on. So the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and it's like, this is a call from Pinellas County Jail. I'm like, do you accept the call? And I'm like, yeah, I'll accept the call. And then Adrian starts talking, and I honestly thought he was playing a trick on me. Like I didn't. He was playing a trick on me, and he's like, "Hey man, I've been arrested." And I'm like, "No, you haven't been arrested."
We figured out how to set this up on your computer and make it sound
I think that's what I said. I think I said exactly that.
He's like, "You're an IT guy. You can set this up."
I'm like, "If it's BS, you got to say it now."
He's like, "You better tell me right now if this is BS."
Yeah, and he's like, "It's not BS," and I'm like, "Oh, okay then." So we started having to get in action here. Like, okay, what do you want us to do? And he's like, "Nothing. Really, just call my wife, tell her that I'm in jail, put out
And
a press
start
release."
writing the press release.
So it's an hour and a half. We get the press release done. We get it out.
Well, we had made sure I actually had the press release done earlier, but we had promised Adrian that his family would not find out about this on Facebook, that we would get a hold of his wife first before we released anything. So we did. We contacted Dawn and said, of course, as soon as she calls back, we're like, okay, don't panic. She's like, what happened? No, that's panicking.
Calm down before I can tell you.
So we did tell her, and she was fine. And so then we released the press release, and the media started calling. I ended up on Ben Swan within another hour. Like, I was on the phone with Ben Swan. We had people calling. The phone was ringing off the hook. Messages were going crazy. I was answering emails and questions until like 1 or 2 in the morning on Friday.
Yeah. I'm letting you talk. What are you talking about?
It's either you don't let me talk or you just tune completely out.
Hold on a second here. That you were on Ben Swan and that you were taking calls until very late at night. Now, you said a specific time. I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, but I was going to argue that point. Did that what you said?
But he wasn't paying attention to
But
be
he
able to
wasn't paying
argue.
attention to argue.
Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, somewhat.
Oh, I guess I was paying attention today.
No,
then.
it's you're
America.
You tune out from participating.
Well, I was looking at something. All right, go ahead.
So
Don't get mad at me.
Adrian got out. It was probably around 8 o'clock that night.
About that.
Yeah, I don't remember
He missed
exactly.
the call.
Yeah,
it was before 8. He missed the call.
Oh, that's right, because he was actually out, but he was like standing on the side of the road waiting for Dawn to come.
He
get
could
him.
have called in. He could have called
Yeah,
in.
no excuse. He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. Honestly, he was kind of bored at that time. He should have called.
No.
That's crap.
Well, we ended up.
Probably down there trying to score some crack rock. No,
Oh no! Don't say that.
I'm just kidding.
Dude,
I'm just
he's
kidding.
not doing that.
He doesn't do crack, especially when he just gets out of jail.
He's going for governor, not mayor.
We're not in Toronto.
Or DC.
Or DC. More importantly, DC. But go ahead.
So he's he gets home and we're talking and everything, and he does media. I'm doing media still Saturday morning. He's doing it. He still makes it to the campaign event on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what, though? We got to talk about this, too, though. We got to bring this up. I'm glad you brought this up, Danielle, because this needs to be discussed. Look, man, whenever you get arrested, especially for something like that, like, it raises a whole bunch of cool points for you, right? You get tons of cred. You get tons of cool points. I mean, you get bonus round level cool points.
He was campaigning in county jail.
Yeah.
Like, that's
That's
awesome.
street cred right
That's
there.
cred.
You got a little badassery going around.
That's represent. That's represent.
Okay.
Represent, right? Fight to power, fight to man, right? So on Saturday, he's invited, and this is another hoity-toity event. Like, Adrian's doing well in the hoity-toity event category, way better than I ever did. Because now nobody would invite me to a hoity-toity event ever. When I was running for office, by the way, back in my day, they wouldn't even let you come into the hoity-toity events. Rah, rah, rah. So he's going up there. It's called like the Fancy Pants Party at TPC Sawgrass.
It's another
or whatever.
charity event.
It's another charity event. Like this whole thing about charity. Adrian's going to these charity events, man. It's just whatever.
It's after the PGA.
Nobody's arrested. They're not feeding any homeless people. They're just
Yeah.
sitting around thinking that they're being charitable. Go ahead.
The PGA.
Well, I'm sure they are, but
the PGA plays one of their matches in Jacksonville at a golf course there. This was the event. After these PGA events, they actually do hold like either a charity ball or a charity dinner or some kind of fun event, but all the proceeds go to charity. That's what this was. This was the event after the golf tournament that Adrian was invited to up in Jacksonville.
And puts on just about, I mean, Look, man, here's the thing. I'm not going to call the pants good. I'm not going to call them ugly. I'm just going to say this, is that all the cool points that you got from being arrested were eliminated with them pants.
Well, he did wear.
Now, he owned them.
Fancy
he
pants.
owned them, boy. He owned them pants. I got to tell you, he owned them. But damn. Hey, did he keep the pants?
All the gangbangers he got to vote for him just completely.
I just hope they didn't look him up that night. I hope they stayed another day in jail.
The funny thing was, like, he's like, everyone in jail that still has their voting rights are going to be voting for me.
Yeah. I love how you get the criminal non-felon.
They're not all felons. This is county. There are misdemeanors here. It's okay.
Exactly.
So
some of these guys can
He
vote.
says everyone who still has their voting rights is now going to be voting for me for governor.
On a side note, I want to give people a point of information. So, point of information here. How government works. Breaks your legs, sells you a wheelchair, taxes that wheelchair, regulates the use of that wheelchair, assures you that without government, you wouldn't be getting around so well. End of service message.
Okay, thank you.
That was awesome.
Completely random, has nothing to do with what we're talking about interlude.
Well, hold on a second. I actually think that is the kind of like the gist of how we describe government every day, but not nearly as simply as what we just did in that service announcement.
True.
So Adrian did make it to the campaign event on Saturday, which is just amazing, by the way.
Nice.
Yes.
I think his vehicle was still impounded at the time, too.
It was impounded until Monday.
Luckily, there was another vehicle around.
Yeah. And, of course, now everyone's question over the weekend, all of Adrian's supporters and stuff is like, well, how's he going to get around? And we're like, he's going to drive? Which I have no idea how he's actually getting around. We just assumed.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of questions surrounding what he is actually fighting. So I want to make this very clear since we're talking about this. Adrian is not fighting the validity of driver's licenses. He is not saying that you shouldn't have registration or that you shouldn't have a driver's license or that you shouldn't have to take a test to show aptitude to drive. He's not fighting any of that. I understand the argument for the right to travel and that driver's licenses were only supposed to be for commercial use, that anyone who was not driving for commercial purposes was supposed to, is technically supposed to not have to have a driver's license to drive. Okay, not Adrian's fight.
Well, let's hold on. Let me say something on this. Let me speak on this. Okay. Point of information.
You getting ready for convention?
I'm getting ready for convention. I'm not saying that that's not a good or worthy fight.
No, I'm not saying that either.
However, typically, when people fight that fight, and again, somebody might be mad when they hear this, so at least you're hearing it from me and not from Adrian. So this does not speak for Adrian, it speaks for me. What I've noticed is in the people that are fighting that fight, their only goal for themselves is to get away with it themselves. Mm-hmm. That they're not really trying to set legal precedent. Mm-hmm. That's selfish. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to actually change the law. What Adrian is trying to do is to get standing in a court of law so he can prove that Real ID in and of itself is unconstitutional to stop Real ID in Florida. So he's not trying to get out of it because he did drive without a driver's license. There's no getting around that. You're guilty if you look at it that way. However, because of jury nullification, you can be found not guilty of that. If that's the case and it was proved that it's unconstitutional, then everybody wins.
Yeah.
So we've gotten phone calls, and I've heard one in particular where a gentleman was told over and over again, look, understand the fight. That's not our fight. We're fighting something else. And he was like, well, you can't argue with ignorance or something like that.
Yeah.
And hung up. To that jerk, because I didn't get to call the person back. If I would have, then I would have called him a jerk, but I wasn't allowed to call him back. You selfish jerk. You fight your fight. We'll fight our fight. Nobody called your dumbass. All right? We didn't go, hey, let's talk to some jerk in Texas to see how he feels about Real ID here in Florida. You're in Texas. You deal with Texas's problems, all right? We'll deal with Florida's problems over here. All right? Isn't that what states' rights all about? All right? I'm so sick of people calling going, oh, you're not fighting it right. You know what? You're not fighting it right because you ain't doing nothing, you backseat driver. Go get arrested and then talk to me. Till then, shut up.
You didn't get arrested right.
You're doing it wrong. This isn't the way it works. This isn't how any of this works.
I unfriend you.
I unfriend you.
So it's what has happened is, a lot of people are very confused on what Adrian is fighting. That's James Ray.
Yeah. Get the chicken dance ready.
Yeah. So the song. So and Greg looks at us like, "What? You want me to?"
I ain't dancing.
But
I ain't dancing nothing.
So I want to be very clear on what we are fighting. So what we are fighting is the unconstitutional provisions of Real ID. We are not at all fighting the validity of a driver's license, because he's gotten hate mail and mail. He's gotten hate mail saying, "You idiot, we have to have a driver's license." And then we've gotten other mail that says, "Here's how you fight not having to have a driver's license, and if that's not your fight, you're an idiot." Okay, everyone calm down.
Everybody take a pill.
We're not fighting the validity of having a driver's license. What we're fighting is unconstitutional provisions of Real ID. Driver's licenses by the Supreme Court have been ruled a privilege. The Supreme Court has also ruled that the government cannot force you to surrender a right to gain a privilege. Now, the Real ID Act goes against the 14th Amendment because it's not applied to everyone equally, because women have to submit more documentation than men. And it's a violation of your 4th Amendment right, because you shouldn't have to reprove who you are, because you should have been, it should be assumed that the first time you were telling the truth, because you're assumed innocent until proven guilty. They're taking documents from you that in any other case they would need a warrant to get. So it's a warrantless search, basically. And so it goes against your 14th and your 4th Amendment rights. So you shouldn't have to comply with Real ID, because that Real ID Act forces you to surrender your rights to gain a privilege, which is a driver's license. That's the fight we're taking on. We are not taking on driver's licenses. We're not saying that nobody should have one. We're not saying that you shouldn't have to have an aptitude test to be able to get behind a car. That's a different fight for different people. It's not anything that we're taking on. We're not taking on the federal Real ID Act. That's for other people to take on. We are only fighting the piece of legislation that was enacted here in Florida that would force the people of Florida to surrender their rights to gain the privilege of a driver's license.
You're absolutely correct, 100%. And that's the thing. It needs to be understood exactly what he is fighting for, and that is it. Now that covers pretty much the Wiley, that part of the story, right? Does that cover pretty much, right?
Well, I mean, there was other stuff that happened to us that I was going to go into, but
all right. But before we get into those things, did you know that Wednesday, the 14th of May, 2014, was a very special day? And I don't even think that the person in studio right now knows what day this was. Key the music, though, while we talk about this. May 14th, 2014 was Chicken Dance Day.
National Chicken
Dance Day. It is for traditioning at weddings, children's discos, family events, Snicker events when he's not allowed into the debate. And joining us in studio today is very special guest. Like, we had interviews with people all the time and everything. Nothing even gets close to the level that we're at right now of this gentleman, the Chicken Man. Charco, the Chicken, in studio today. Very special day. Charco, how are you doing, sir?
I am live and in chicken, sir.
You are live and in chicken. It is so apropos.
US Senator here. Have you been talking up a small government game while voting for big government? And is everyone speculating now on you being president? Is that who I see here?
No, I am not that gentleman right there. I have not nearly as good of hair as that gentleman has. Nor am I an authoritarian psychopath.
He does have good hair, doesn't he?
He does have good hair, though. I got to tell you
a few good things about our opponents, and he does have some damn good hair.
He's
almost Justin Bieber.
I would like to one time.
After the last couple days, I see that as a negative.
Fair enough.
I'm not much on hair at the moment for debate preparation purposes. Under the charcoal mask, I've actually gone total Rick Scott. It's a cue ball down there.
It's a cue ball down there, huh?
And today was beautiful weather. I've got to say, today is charcoal weather. Have you been out there?
It is a charcoal. I did do a report this morning where I said it was a charcoal 7. No, it was a charcoal 8. So everybody else got a 6 though, but it was a charcoal 8. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. On the Adrian Wiley thing, it was interesting, Danielle, that you brought up that he is that the 14th Amendment violation especially applies to women.
Yeah.
Is there a female co-defendant that we could perhaps gin up by grabbing the ACLU and saying, hey, guys, why don't you do your job?
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get arrested for the last 2 years. It has not been successful. I don't drive very often, but if they happen to catch me out there, there would be a female to fight.
Well, there wouldn't be a co-defendant because it would be 2 separate charges.
It would be two separate court cases.
But it would be one that you could argue. Because Adrian's not arguing the 14th, I don't think.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she could be a friend of the court saying, hey, I'm trying to get arrested too, and things are even worse for me because I'm a female.
Yeah.
Character witness? Not character witness, but witness.
No, friend of the court brief.
Friend of the court brief.
She has an attorney file up in a bunch of legalese. She knows better than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could do that, but because I don't have the standing that he does. Now, obviously, if I had been arrested first, we would be fighting the 14th Amendment violation a lot harder than Adrian will be. But either way, just the fact that Adrian didn't have to submit the same papers that I would means it's unequal under the law. So, and which is you can't have that. Obviously, I could fight the 14th violation a lot stronger than Adrian could. So I would take on the 14th and not the 4th, where he's going to really focus on the 4th, and the 14th Amendment violation will be kind of a background issue, but it will also be argued.
Like whatever.
Well, it'll be, he doesn't have as much legal standing in it as I would, which is why it was good that he was fighting it as well as me, that we were both trying to get arrested, because we could actually fight the same law by in different angles.
Okay.
I really hope the ACLU notices this. I mean, it seems like it's right up their alley. It's not First Amendment, but this is definitely constitutional rights territory. So.
Well, they have come out against Real ID.
Yes, they have.
So I'm hoping that they will. I don't know. Did they try to contact them?
I haven't contacted them.
We might want to contact them.
We may want
to contact because Adrian won't contact them.
Free lawyer for Adrian. Yeah, I know Adrian's not going to.
Well, see, now that comes to the problem too, though, and this is where you run into a little bit of a difficulty when it comes to the lawyers. They don't necessarily want to fight it the right way. Now, the ACLU may be different, but on the first one, when Adrian went around looking for lawyers, all the lawyers just wanted to get him off.
They just want to get him off on a
like they don't want to fight the law. Like we're there for a specific purpose. Right. We don't like Real ID. These guys are looking at it as we want to make sure you don't go to jail. Which, don't get me wrong, for a lawyer, you should have that thought process.
For other people, that would work.
They spend 3 years putting that into your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they make them take deals and all this other stuff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of crap that goes along with that as well. However, with that being said, they don't want to fight the right fight. But I'm not even mad at him for that or anything like that. But it's just it's tough to get a lawyer at that point.
For other people, they would be doing their job. For Adrian, it wouldn't be doing the job that he would want. So and honestly, listen, all of his supporters, I absolutely love all the love and support that Adrian's gotten. I've been getting emails like crazy. I can't even get through the emails fast enough. I'm still behind a couple hundred. But trying to keep up with as many as I can. Everyone is showing so much love and support for Adrian, and I absolutely appreciate it. I appreciate all of the tips, but we've been preparing for this for years. We honestly know exactly the road that he's going to go down to fight this. And a lot of people's little tips that have come into the campaign has been a lot of like, well, you can argue the jurisdiction, you can argue that they didn't have probable cause to pull him over. No. This is what he wanted. We're not trying to get off on a technicality. We're not trying to change jurisdiction. I don't want to change jurisdiction. I want him in a court in Pinellas. So I thought that they did us a favor by arresting him in Pinellas County. So I'm really happy with where the case is.
Consider where he could have been arrested.
Yeah.
And consider where he was arrested. Like that's a convenient ass way to get arrested.
So I don't.
It's in the county you live in, man. Like you ain't got to go down the street to go get your car from impound.
Right. I'm actually, of all the places, I think being able to fight it in the same court system that he did before, I think is a good thing. It's in his home county. Everyone in Pinellas knows the story. So jury selection is going to be, not that they would have knowledge of the story where they would not be impartial, but I think being his hometown is going to be to his advantage. So I'm absolutely thrilled with where they arrested him. I'm thrilled with all of the particulars of the case. I think we have a great shot at winning. So we're not trying to argue any of the little things that a normal criminal defense attorney would, because they would be asking for a change of venue. They would be fighting the jurisdiction. They would be fighting the probable cause of even being able to pull him over. I get all that. Not our fight. We really, really want to take this on specific to the unconstitutional provisions of Real ID.
You're absolutely right. And today is Endangered Species Day and Sea Monkey Day and Pizza Party Day. Oh, I love Pizza Party Day.
Okay, we're totally changing your screen.
Can we cut his internet?
I have found more pages to block off of Alex's computer.
But it's Bike to Work Day.
The one thing I don't have a switch for over here is his internet.
Which I'm telling you, more days than not, we need the switch for that.
I'm not allowed to play with stuff. It's so horrible. I'm trying to lighten up the mood here.
Now,
it's like I'm wearing a virtual chicken suit.
You act like we're in a funeral. Why do you need to lighten the mood here?
That's a good point, by the way. That is a good point.
Now, while
America,
we have to go. We have some things that we had to do the same day. Adrian gets arrested. We're putting out press releases and things like that. Now we have.
We got time for this crap.
Yeah, we have to get on the road. Now, as we're driving, there's police everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere.
Oh, I forgot about this part of the story. This includes me too. I totally forgot about this.
You
part.
were there.
Alex is in it, and he forgot to tell it.
Yeah, right.
Imagine that.
So now we pull into a gas station. There's police there. We're driving down the road. There's police everywhere.
Yeah, they're all over the map.
No matter where we were, and we drive this route every other Friday. We go to this place every other Friday. Drive the route every other Friday. Although you did do one thing different.
We have to go up to the location, but we didn't drive the same route.
Right. Well, where we were seeing all the police at first was the same part of the route.
Correct.
So
correct.
We have, because of all the things going on with Adrian, we'd actually left a few minutes late, so we decided to take a little quicker route and hit on the vets.
Well,
plus we had to make one other stop.
Yeah. We had to make a stop before we did there. So we're driving up the vets. Can I tell?
Oh,
now I remember.
Hold on. As I'm driving and seeing all the police, I'm like, man.
Well, you're not driving.
As we're driving, I didn't say I'm driving. I said,
actually go back to the tape. I think you did say that you were driving, but that's okay.
As we're driving, and I'm seeing all the police, I'm thinking to myself, I hope that they're not going to pull us over. And then I thought to myself, well, what's the chances of Adrian and Alex being pulled over in the same day? I mean, that's just ridiculous. There's hardly, the probability of that happening is so small that I just kind of went back to being on the phone and answering emails and didn't, have any, the probability of that is ridiculous. So I'm not going to worry about it.
All right, so I'm on the Vets Expressway heading north on the Vets, right? Now, the Vets Expressway is a 4-lane highway toll road that you can go 70 on. Well, I was going 80. And on one of the overpasses, on the other side of the overpass is a speed trap. It's right on the other side of the overpass because you can't see the cop until you get past that. I didn't even realize that. But I'm driving up, I go up, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, crap, because as soon as I saw him, I looked at my down, I'm doing 80 all day long. I'm like, crap.
He lit up right away.
And I thought at this point, I'm like, well, I got immunity. Let's see what happens. So, and I'm like, but Adrian just got arrested today. This guy's going to pull me over. Now, I don't think that they were targeting me. I think the dude was just sitting there.
He had no idea it was you. You
he
came
didn't know
over,
who it
he
was.
could only see the front of your car, and he lit up.
Yeah, so I pull off the side of the road. And when I pull off the side of the road, now one thing I do when it comes to pulling off the side of the road, that I don't get on the meat on the shoulder, I get into the grass, because you know what? I don't want the cop, the guy with the gun, to feel like any more nervous than he's already might be anyway. I want him to feel a little more comfortable because, to be honest with you, I wasn't looking to go on the Vets Expressway to be shot today. I'm kind of anti getting shot on a Friday after the show. Call me crazy. So this guy comes up, and it's this old guy. Now, again, I'm not making fun of the guy, but I'm kind of making fun of the guy. I did not realize that you were allowed to still be an officer of the law as a state trooper at that age. Because dude was up there. Dude was old. I mean, he was an old guy.
I mean, this might be like his last hurrah before retirement.
Like, he's got to be retiring sometime soon. But because of that, he was cool. As shit.
He was very old Southern.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like, did you work today? Driver's license, registration, proof of insurance. Give it to you. Mr. Sticker, did you work today? Like, yes, officer, I did. Did you make an extra $204? No, I didn't. Do you realize that a ticket for speeding on this road is $204? I'm like, I did not know that. Did you also know that if your insurance would be raised and that you would pay more money for the next 3 years for your insurance?
Did you make that kind of money when you were working today? Yeah. Were you planning on that?
Were you planning on that today? I'm like, no, I wasn't. All right, hang on a second.
Then he goes back to the car.
Yeah, he goes back to the car. Now, he was really cool about it. Like, it was funny. And he alluded that he was going to give me a warning.
So if I gave you a warning and not a ticket, that would be a good thing, right, Mr. Snicker?
Yeah, exactly. So he goes back to his squad car, does the thing, comes back, and he basically, he's like, now, if you wanted to, you could say that. Now, you gave me your word, and he asked me, will you give me your word that you ain't going to speed anymore?
You're not going to go over 70 miles per hour?
I'm like, I'm not going to go over 70.
And he goes, because if you feel that you cannot go 70 miles per hour or under, then you just give me a call. We will set an appointment, and I will write you a ticket, and it will be the easiest ticket you ever got in your life, son.
And I'm just like, you know what? I think I'll try to live with the disappointment, officer. And he was like, okay, well, you have a good day now.
He goes, you gave me your word, and your word don't expire.
Yeah, your word don't expire. Honestly, it was I honestly didn't speed the rest of the day. Like, dude got me for a day. I'm like, I'm not going to speed today. I felt bad. Like, like every time it would go over, I'm like, I told that guy I wouldn't speed today, though. So
he was the nicest guy.
Yeah, nice cop. So I did not get a ticket. Until I get a ticket, I will consider that I have immunity.
And listen, that guy probably didn't give very few people a ticket that day. He was just a really, really nice guy. Now, they did have another officer about half a mile down. So I bet you this guy is it's like good cop, bad cop, where he makes you give him your word. But man, if you hit that next cop and you're speeding, well, they're throwing the book at you.
Okay, there's a guy coming down the street right now in a skateboard.
No, in the truck. In the truck.
I know.
If you're going to talk about the skateboard, just speak with it in reverence.
And hushed tones.
So they
all
did,
hail the skateboard. I'd like to start a religion based off the skateboard. Total side note. Keep going.
They had another state trooper a little while down. So I'm sure that this guy, listen, this was one of the nicest people I've ever seen. He was so nice. It was funny. We didn't even want to laugh because you didn't want to piss him off. He was just so nice. So it's actually another enjoyable experience with the police.
Again,
I don't know how you keep getting those because I don't.
I can't figure it out, man. I'm telling you, I haven't had a bad experience with a cop in years, and I've been to some shit. I should have had a bad experience. Like, I should have had a bad time.
No, it's always
and they're kind of fun.
It's always been really nice. I mean, the one guy was like, "Well, don't give me your Starbucks card. That would be bribing an officer."
Yeah,
you tried to hand him your Starbucks card instead of your license. I mean, it was.
Oh, sorry, I meant to give you the Dunkin' Donuts.
Ticket right there.
No, I would have got the ticket then. I would have got the ticket.
But every time anything's happened, we've always had they've been downright funny.
Been pleasant.
It's been a pleasant experience. So, but there was another state trooper afterwards. At the time we hit the other state trooper, it was 70 miles an hour was the limit. He was doing 65 because he gave his word, and his word don't expire.
It was weird.
How fast are you going to be driving the convention today?
Not fast, I wouldn't think.
Well, not fast because I'm going to be loaded.
Oh, that's right.
Like, I have a truck full that I'm going to be. I don't know if the truck will be able to go that fast.
Has that truck already been loaded?
No.
Oh my goodness.
There's no topper on it. You wouldn't want to leave all that
Yeah,
stuff
you wouldn't
outside
wanna leave it
overnight.
overnight.
I'm just determining how fast I got to leave after the show ends today.
Oh, that's
because you don't want to help put it in there.
Oh, that's being.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
You know, now that I think about it, you are going to help now. Okay, there you go.
I'm kidding.
So yeah, so
I didn't even think about that.
so
Thank you.
The probability of both Adrian and Alex getting pulled over in the same day actually pretty high.
But both getting arrested the same day? Not so high.
Not so high. Although
Because I have my driver's
he
license.
does have a license.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be a dick to a guy with a gun.
Yeah. Which
Because I have rules.
Adrian wasn't either. Adrian is always very.
Oh,
pleasant
no,
to
no.
the guy with
Adrian's
the gun.
nice as pie to him. Nice as pie to him. I'm
He's,
just saying.
you know, at some point, I guess he was through processing, and he's, you know, everyone is like, "Oh, tell me about your radio show. You're running for governor." And at one point, one of the cops was like, "Hey, politics, you need to stop campaigning in the jail." He's like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
What are you going to do? Arrest me?
Yeah, no, that's the funny part, by the way. That is funny. Like, you're in jail right now. What more can you do? Are you going to beat the crap out of me in here? You know? Like, whatever.
So
Let me introduce you to my friend, Mr. Truncheon. Truncheon, Billy Club.
Oh. Why can't you
They
just
beat
say
you.
Mr. Billy Club? Why do you got to go with Adrian and do like some kind of big word that you shouldn't be using?
Because I like to use big words, so I
Wait,
sound
wait,
more
use it.
photosynthesis.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say something here. It is 9:54, and on the board it does say to call PPP in the first hour.
I
just
do.
wanted
I want
say
to call
that.
PPP as we're talking about Adrian being arrested.
We will introduce. What's the guy's name again?
Dean Debnam.
Deem dead.
We are going to introduce Dean Debnam to Charco. Yeah? This is the first time we've ever had to be able to introduce Dean to a guest.
We're calling at a different time, so I'm hoping that
You think he's going to pick up the phone by calling at a different time?
Maybe.
I doubt it. What's going on over there?
He's doing the little do 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 do
Do, 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 do,
do
do,
do.
Charco's playing with his computer.
What else do you do with the computer? What was he supposed to do? Fan you with it?
I would like that.
That would be
little warm
weird.
in here.
That would be weird. Oh, it's cold out, dude.
Out? We're not out.
Oh, well, the window's open. Why is the window open anyway, by the way?
Because I opened it. Because it was hot in here.
Oh, but you could have left that one open, though. Then never mind.
Do, 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 do.
My bad. No need
I
to get
love
over
them.
this. Oh, hold on. Oh, come on, Dean. Come on, Dean.
Dean, answer. We're
Special
calling it a
day.
different time. Maybe
Come
Every
you
on.
time he might be
Dean.
caught off guard.
Come on, Dean. Dino. Damn it, Dean. Pick up the phone. America. Broccoli.
Unicycle.
Unicycle. Today is National Sea Monkey Day. Tomorrow is Pack Rat Day.
Today is Eat Pizza Day. I think that's
Dean can't come to the
That's
phone
right.
right now.
Oh, wait.
Ah. Oh. All right, Dean, you're live on the air. Well, you're not live on the air, but your answer machine is.
We are.
This is Alex Snicker, co-host Liberty Underground, along with me, Danielle Alexander. Say hi.
Hi.
Greg, Prime Minister of the Sinister Bowen, and that is not a threat to you, Bowen.
Good morning. Good morning, Dean.
Also with us in studio today is
It's our
Charco,
first guest that we get to introduce you to.
Charco the Chicken, which we may
Howdy.
use to call you later on.
howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy is what he said. All right, well, look, Adrian got arrested last week, man. He got arrested last week.
You should be totally putting him in your polls and see what public opinion is on his arrest.
Yeah. Now, what was he arrested for was actually driving without a driver's license. He was not arrested for anything else other than that. So it is a victimless crime. He was trying to get arrested. However, in that attempt, which he was successful at doing it, he's going to challenge Real ID and probably beat it in court, which I would say would lend itself to putting him in the damn poll. Along with the fact that he's invited to the debates, along with the fact that we polled him ourselves, we were at 16%, along with all those other things, poll him in the damn race. Now, remember this, though. When you're going to poll this thing, don't just include super voters. The reason is Amendment number 2 on the ballot for legalizing marijuana, which means there's going to be a whole lot of single-issue people that go out there that would be more willing to vote for Adrian than the super voters, which means you need to give him a higher percentage because you need to call those people, and they'll tell you to vote for Adrian.
So don't do skewed polling.
Don't skew me. Don't skew me on
Don't
this
skew
one.
me, bro.
Don't skew me, bro.
Don't Snitker paradox me.
Don't exactly. Do not snicker paradox. But other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. If you'd like to, you can come down to the convention. We can talk. We can hang out. And other than that, and grab a beer.
Buy a ticket for the party bus.
Yeah, and we'll promise your safety the entire time. Promise your safety the entire time.
Because we have all signed the non-aggression principle.
Exactly. Even though I will consider the fact that you don't put Adrian on there a violation of that. With that being said, though, I think we'll worry about that for another day. But toodles.
Bye.
There we go.
Those calls are the best.
They are funny though. I wish I had to, like, I'd like to go through
And just clip those
and
out.
only for every week clip out those things and make a collection of the calls.
We can make a montage.
It's almost like a diary.
I think after the campaign, that's what we should do.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be like a 45-minute video, a collection of all of our calls that are only like 2-3 minutes long. And
'Cause we do
It'd be
call every
100-something
week.
minutes probably.
yeah,
It'd almost be 2 hours long.
2 hours of
hold on.
Dean Debnam.
Hold on, literally one day we're going to not do the show. We're just going to play those calls, and then over and over again
You know-
is every call to Dean Debnam.
Here's the funny thing is, you know how most radio shows play like best of? That is the best of our show.
And you got to imagine this poor guy's face, you know. I mean, to be a fly on the wall.
Actually, I think that it's kind of a darkened face because he's under his desk.
We're going to release it all as a double live album. It's a double live album. KTEL presents the
Calls to Dean Debnam from the Liberty Underground Show.
The voicemails to Dean Debnam.
I do
Greatest
have to
hits.
say that when we meet people who say, I listen to your show every week, they're like, and I love that. The first thing they say, I love the call you do to PPP.
I wish we could find somebody else to call too. I wouldn't mind doing
I
1
know.
hour of the show just calling people.
We need more people to harass.
We need more people to harass?
Yeah, we
Well,
gotta take a
Danielle
break.
needs to shake her wrists.
That means something completely different for us.
That's tuna Tokyo, man. What are you talking about? All right, hour number one's in the bag. Hour number two's coming up. 1787network.com, 1-800-525-4032. We will be back after these messages.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect.
If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
We're back. Liberty Underground, 1787network.com. If you would like to call the program, even though the one guy that would call the program actually is here, so he's not going to call. 1-800-525-4032. 1-800-525-4032. Should we do a little talking about the convention before we get into this part?
Yeah, that's fine. I just when you say, well, we can come back, like maybe do like a quick scan of the room to make sure everyone's at least in their chair.
You know, that is a good point. That actually,
like just a little scan, you know?
That is a good point, by the way.
Like we can come back. Is everybody ready?
Don't make me tickle you on the air.
No, don't.
Because I will tickle you live on the air.
No.
I will do it.
We haven't had enough grab-ass games out of you two this morning.
Alex!
The best of might not be those calls.
Yeah. The thing is
I'd like to do an hour of Danielle being tickled.
I actually thought we had another like minute and a half. So like I wasn't even in my chair. I was gonna get a drink of my coffee, and all of a sudden I hear Alex like, and we're back.
I know. I was letting it run, and he's like, "No, let's go back." I'm like, "Okay."
Like, wait a minute, we're back. I'm not even sitting down.
All I gotta say is, Tang has made a product that initially I wasn't necessarily a fan of.
Do you like it?
But
now?
I have started to grow accustomed to it. Not that I still like the original Tang.
Okay.
But the one that they made now with the pineapple as well as the orange is kind of a good time.
Now, when we...
Bet it's a better time with rum.
It was probably...
Is there a National Tang Day? I wonder if there is. I'm going to look it up.
I cannot... Cut his internet. We have to find that button.
I know. That's the one button that I need on this mixer that I do not have.
So the one time I went to the grocery store and they had Tang was like buy one, get one free. And I'm like, oh, Alex likes Tang. I'll get it. And they had the orange one because I made sure he likes the orange one. They had an orange one up front. So I just grabbed the first two. The one behind it, orange and pineapple.
And I tried it, and I was like, this doesn't taste like
this
Tang.
tastes funny.
It doesn't taste like Tang. And then found out it was Tang. All right, well.
I'm so juvenile because I'm giggling to myself throughout this entire conversation.
You don't love Tang?
I do.
You know the astronauts used it, right?
Yes.
Do you know they're not allowed up there anymore, though, because the Russians are saying you're not allowed on their space station anymore?
I actually pulled that story, but...
Don't cancel your space program if you're going to start a war with them, please.
Yeah, if you're dependent on the Russians to get you into space and get your astronauts at the space station back, probably don't want to start smack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just, like, keep quiet. Just, just for a little bit and say, like, hey, guys, can we have our people back that are at the space station? And then once you get all the people back, be like, oh, yeah, we don't like what you're doing.
And I would like to, later, and we're not going to do this today. We're not going to do this today. However, I would like to have a debate discussion on whether the government should be involved in the if NASA should be a government-funded agency or not.
Okay.
I actually do want to have that discussion because I'm going to go statist on you.
That's a discussion for a different day.
But consider, Alex, I mean, the progress of aviation over its course of evolution versus the progress of space travel, which only recently has become privatized. I think you can see we'd be way further along if it were more private. Maybe there's a role for government, but maybe not that big a one.
There's a good case to be made, which is why I actually want to have the discussion, though. But we'll do that at a later time. We won't do that today.
Yeah.
Right now, though, let's talk about the convention.
Okay.
You want to do that?
I guess.
Yes.
All right. So this Friday, Saturday,
You
and
completely
Sunday.
derailed any show prep I've done anyway.
Hold on a second. No, what? No,
What is it? What
oh,
does
no,
it say
hour
for
number
hour
one,
two?
Adrian was arrested. Lucas, District 13, and Brandon, 11:30.
10:30.
Oh, yeah, that does say 10:30.
See, he can't even read the show prep. Why should we count on him?
I don't even know how to read. I don't know how to read. Didn't know how to read.
Hey, let's talk about Lucas. I think this guy.
All right, well, let's bring. Are you
Okay.
hold on. Let's give at least the advertisement discussion when it comes to the convention, because this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is the Libertarian Party of Florida State Convention. Hold on, is it on this one? No, it's not on Hour 3.
No. But I was going to do it at the end of the show. We were going to talk about it, and we'd be live on Tan Talk.
Okay, all right, you're right. Well, we'll do that. Let's do that then. All right, so let's get into Lucas, District 13.
Because Lucas, not only did Adrian have a very exciting week, twists and turns all over the week, Lucas also had that happen to him.
Yeah.
Lucas, which we kind of broke here a couple weeks ago, he was getting back into the District 13 race, and it did look right at the last minute. The Democrats put in an NPA who had just switched over from being a Republican into the race, and they were supporting the NPA that had just turned Democrat that used to be a Republican.
Hold on a second, though. Let's get a little bit before that, because there's some other important things that need to be mentioned before that. So what happens is that after the District 13 special election, Jolly wins, Sink loses, Lucas loses, and then what happens is there have to be another one for November. Now, there was going to be a Republican primary. However, the Republican challenger pulled an Eric Forcade and was forced out of the race. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, but he did put out an email saying that he was going to not have a divisive primary and allow Jolly to make it through, which means that all the stuff that he believed beforehand in Nick Zoller, he actually didn't believe because, like I said, I don't know what happened, but I think it's an Eric Forcade incident here.
Could be.
Okay.
And also at this point, the carpetbagger Alex Sink has run back home with her tail tucked between her legs
she's
and
back
is
in
not running
Hillsborough.
again.
She's like,
Yes,
I'm done.
she put on her Charco, the chicken mask, and left out.
You might want to explain who Eric Forcade is or what.
The reason I said pull an Eric Forcade is that a couple years back, there was a gentleman by the name of Eric Forcade who was going to run against Bill Young, and that the REC down there pressured Eric Forcade to not run, made a promise to Eric Forcade. Eric Forcade said okay and got out, and because of that, he can never run for office again because nobody will support him.
Now,
at least at this time.
The Democrats did have someone in the race. It was Reverend Sykes.
Yeah, this guy by the name of Reverend Sykes.
And
African American.
Yeah, and he was a good guy, actually.
Incredible guy.
A lot of people really liked him. I had never met him, but I'd seen a lot of his stuff. I thought he wasn't a bad candidate. He was a good guy.
And a pastor at a church down in St. Pete, well known in his neighborhood, known for his community services.
Mm-hmm. Now, truth be told, did not live in district, but did live in district before the latest gerrymandering.
Yeah, it was gerrymandering. He lived in district for decades until long ago when the gerrymandering changed the district.
So he was out of district. So that is, we got to make sure we're accurate on that.
And let's understand that the district he is in now, that gerrymandering was wrong. That should not have happened. And the district he is in now is the bottom tip of Pinellas County, which is shared with the larger portion of Hillsborough County. It makes no sense for that district to be shaped that way.
Yeah, that's true. So this guy's in the race, and that the chair of the Pinellas County Rec
Democrat Party,
which
is the deck.
The deck. Now, what happens is, especially with the even the Democrats and the Republicans have one thing in common in Pinellas County.
They're authoritarian psychopaths.
And they want to make sure that they don't have certain, they don't want to have races where they don't have to have races. Last time they kicked out Ehrlich so Sink could run for the special election. And this one, they want to kick this guy out. They want to kick out Sykes because they want some white guy to run. They didn't want the black guy to run.
So actually, he was right in the first place. The deck is a wreck.
Yeah, the deck and the wreck, pretty much the same thing.
That's why he was. The letters. It was like, well, I don't really know which letter it is because they're both kind of acting the same.
Yeah. So what happens is that the guy that's the head of the deck, the racist, calls up the black guy and says, "You don't know your role." I mean, again, I'm paraphrasing. He doesn't say these exact
this is not
words.
exactly what he
but
said.
But this is about what he said. You don't know your role. You need to drop out of this race.
What he did say exactly was, "You will be persona non grata."
Yes.
That is what he did say.
That is what he did say.
And he left him a message saying it. Like, he didn't even have the common decency.
To do it in person.
He doesn't have the intelligence to not leave this on a recording.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, Reverend Sykes, felt, very upset with his own party, and that
disrespected.
This is the way they were treating him. So he did ended up dropping out of the race. I don't think he was dropping out because he was told to. I think he was dropping out because he was like, you guys don't deserve me.
Yeah. Well, he didn't realize the fight he was going to be in.
And he was right. So now he had dropped out, which made it just David Jolly. So Lucas had been considering going back into the race because he was like, the people in Pinellas deserve a choice. And right now they don't have one. So Lucas did go down to Tallahassee to turn in his paperwork.
Up to Tallahassee, but okay.
Okay. So, all right. So he goes to Tallahassee. Now, on his way to Tallahassee, he did call our show, let everybody know what he was doing. Now, at the very last minute after he turned in his paperwork, another person by the name of, what was his first name?
Janey.
Ed
Janey.
I knew his last name. I was looking for his first
Interestingly enough,
Colonel Ed Janey, who the Washington Post gets wrong in the fact that he was actually running as an MPA, but
yeah.
That's okay.
Interestingly enough, his full name is actually Eduardo. I thought it was interesting that the Democrats did not want him to use that Latino credibility and keep the full name Eduardo. But anyway.
Well, they didn't want the African American either.
That's true.
Yeah.
They've got their black guy in Obama and their Latino in Rubio, and they don't need any more.
So, it's enough minorities in office, I guess. I don't know.
I guess that's what they're thinking.
I guess that's their thinking. But so Lucas did put in his paperwork. Colonel Ed Janey also did, but he could not run as a Democrat because he had been a Republican only 2 months prior. And we do have a 365-day rule. You can't be in another party 365 days before qualifying. So he had to run as an NPA, although he was a registered Democrat, barely.
Well, yeah, for 2 months.
For 2 months. Well, I mean, come on, that's not a lot of time.
I mean, not that there's even much difference between Democrats and Republican politicians, but regardless to that.
So he had been a Democrat for all of like a second, so they wouldn't let him run as a Democrat. He had to run as an NPA, although he was a registered Democrat, was a Republican. What a weird dichotomy where, again, you would have a race where you're like, who's the Republican? Who's the Democrat?
Here's the other thing, by the way. How weak is the Democrat stable in Pinellas County where you can't even, like, the argument over who was going to run for that seat didn't even have anybody in the district. Like, what's going on over there, man? You can't find somebody in the neighborhood to run, for Pete's sake? I like saying for Pete's sake, but anyway.
But this week, we got some news from Colonel Ed Janey. And the news was that he was no longer going to be running in the race. So he dropped out.
He did.
Apparently, he had committed to doing security for World Cup down in Brazil and won't be able to campaign and do the job.
Yeah. Now, there was also something else. And whenever somebody tries to drop out, everybody tries to take credit for it. Because the Tampa Bay Times tries to take credit for this one, saying that because they put out an article that said that, and again, I didn't even see this article, so I don't even know what they were talking about.
I didn't know what they were talking about.
But they put out this article that he basically kind of was fudging on the...
he padded his resume
He padded his resume a little bit.
He did.
Which I'm sure most people at the Times pad their resume, and it's not like that paper is even accurate. So how can you even claim that somebody else is being inaccurate, considering the trash and lies you guys put out?
The Times pads everything.
Yeah. Those guys are spin monsters like you've never seen it before in your life.
The funny thing is, there's more than what they had reported, and it's quite possible that it was the things that had yet to be reported that made him quit.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. I can't see him not knowing before he put his paperwork in that he was doing security in Brazil,
right?
And that campaigning for the U.S. Congress was going to be hard. Also,
take a little time.
Also, the fact that if you won, you'd be in Congress during the World Cup.
And I don't think that he realized just how deep people are going to dig into his past
when you start doing that stuff. Yeah.
And the stuff that you put on your website as far as your resume, that's going to be checked first.
Yeah.
So if you fudge that at all, you can expect that. Now, there are some other things in his history that have not been reported on yet. We probably don't need to talk about since he's dropped
he's not out in the race. Yeah.
But I think those are the things that really got him
Probably.
to drop before they came to light.
And it is something.
Will you tell me that stuff later?
Absolutely.
Whenever we meet with a potential candidate, the first thing that we say to them, we kind of tell them a little about how campaigning is going to go, and then we say, listen, if there is anything, and I do mean anything, no matter how far back it went, I don't care if it was 30 years ago, if there is something in your past that you don't want brought out in public, you better think about that now, because it is going to get brought out in public.
Yeah, more than likely.
So, we're very real with candidates going, listen, if it's something that's going to make you want to drop out, you shouldn't even get in. Someone probably should have had that conversation with him.
And I got to tell you that, let me just say this, though. It is a very bad feature about our political process that is the case, because it does exclude a lot of good people who have made maybe one or two, like maybe minor mistakes in their lives or embarrassing things in their lives that they don't want anybody to know about.
That happened 30 years ago.
Now, at the same time, I hope we get to the point where we don't have to worry about that, but right now it's still a worry, though.
Right. So we're very real with the candidates, and we let them know that happens.
I can only imagine how bad things would have been if cell phone cameras were as ubiquitous as they are now when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Those pictures don't exist, and I thank God every day.
No, think about that, though. With technology as it is now, it's going to be even harder for those people to run, though.
It's going to be harder to find anyone to run for office in another 20 years, because everyone's whole life has been, basically broadcast through, digital means.
Yeah, well, hold on. I'm going to take the other side on this one real quick, though. Let me think about this. But those people are also going to be way more comfortable with it, so maybe that they won't bother them as much as it bothered other people.
It could be. I mean,
Maybe.
This is, and I've actually said this before. We are not our generation, but the generation, our children are the first generation that will have their entire lives documented digitally from birth until death.
Yeah. Cradle to grave.
So, that is one of those things where in 20 years, when these are the future and they are running for office, everything they've done is going to be public knowledge.
Yep. So Janie, after less than 2 weeks after launching the bid, drops out. I mean,
so
awesome.
It is now just David Jolly and Lucas Overby in the District 13 race.
Well, there is a write-in candidate.
Well, yeah, but he was there before. He got like 16 votes.
So now it's a two-way race in CD13. And although Lucas was never the lesser of two evils candidate anyway, now the people who are stuck in that line of thinking, we're going to see what they really think is evil now.
Because it's either the Republican that you were not as afraid of as the Democrat, because that's basically what everyone said. Well, I was afraid of Alex Sink. Okay, but most people admitted that Lucas was the better candidate, but they were afraid of Alex Sink. Okay, you don't have that option anymore. It's either the candidate you love or the candidate you weren't as afraid of. You have nothing to be afraid of in this election.
Now, again, I'm not going to... Go ahead, Jan.
I have something to be afraid of. Charco does not want to wear this mask when it's really hot, and I am concerned that Jolly is not going to debate Lucas Overby, and that implicates Charco. And so I want a debate, at least one. You would think they could have more than one, but at least one debate, even though the guy has already said in previous debates that Lucas is a smarter guy.
You know what? I don't know if they're going to debate or not. I think that they are. I'd like to think that they are. And I'd like to think that Jolly is... I'd like to think that Jolly is going to have to.
Well, I actually do think there's going to be a debate. And I think the reason is because Jolly's camp is going to say, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Now, obviously, he knows that he's not going to look as good if he debates Lucas, because that's exactly what happened in the first one. So, I mean, we know that. We know that's going to happen. But it will look worse if he had not refused to debate Lucas before, but refuses now, because then it looks like he's hiding something from what he did just in the last few months in office.
And it damages his entire campaign, because he campaigned on continuing the legacy of Bill Young, whose legacy was constituent services and accessibility to the voters. And when you're denying debates, you're not being accessible to the voters.
Yeah. So I definitely think that when his campaign is weighing out the benefits to the repercussions, there's definitely more repercussions than him looking poorly in the debate. So I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to be forced to debate Lucas, which is, I think, is a great thing, because when you get rid of that lesser of two evils argument and then put him up on stage, I mean, you have no fear there. It's either the guy you really like or the guy you're not afraid of. So I think that's going to fare well for Lucas. I think he's going to do great in this race.
I wonder if Jesse Jackson Jr.'s name is going to come up.
Doesn't even need to, really.
Well, not by it won't come up by Lucas.
Yeah, no, Lucas won't bring it up, and
I mean that guy's what Lucas will do is he's going to run a positive. He's going to do the same thing he did last time. Run a positive message, not go out on the attacks. Going to talk about the issues and going to debate the issues. That's what he'll do. Which again, it's different strokes for different folks. I understand the rationale behind what it is that he's doing, but he did these things. He did give the money to Jesse Jackson Jr. That dude was wearing a Rolex that was partly paid for by David Jolly. I mean, you got to have an honest discussion here. Even though what I would say is maybe at this point you don't want to bring that up because you want all the Democrat support you can get,
right,
and you don't want David Jolly to think that was with Jesse Jackson Jr. in case there's anybody down in the Pinellas County area that would
like
vote
Jesse
for
Jackson
Jr. Like, oh, well, David Jolly likes Jesse Jackson Jr. Let me go ahead and get that guy in there. So maybe he shouldn't bring that kind of crap up.
This is what
funny to me.
It is funny though.
Lucas put this out a couple days ago, and I actually think this is phenomenal. He actually basically talked about his campaign strategy this time around, and he says, during the special election, we ran on a libertarian platform of inclusiveness, open-mindedness, and honest debate. We worked diligently to prevent fresh ideas to solve old problems by building coalitions devoid of party lines and old political boundaries. I was asked today what I plan to change going into the November election. The answer? Tell more people.
Brilliant.
What's going on with that thing, man? We got a
janky cable.
Dang janky cable. Oh, there you go,
There
America.
We win.
Dang janky cables.
So, so that's, he's not changing anything up of his tactics. He's going with the same. He's not attacking either one. There's only one. He's not going to be attacking David Jolly. He's not going to be addressing any of these negative things. He's going to be running on, this is how we solve the problems, and we're only focused on solutions.
I wonder if he's going to go for an Alex Sink endorsement.
Sink did endorse Ed Janey before he dropped out.
Yes.
Like 3 days before he dropped out, she sent out a letter endorsing him.
I think, if you want my opinion on this one, I think that Sink and the establishment Democrats have been so thoroughly embarrassed at this point that they want to get as far away from this thing as possible.
Race.
Yeah.
You're not going to see any of them endorse anyone or say a word about this race. They want to pretend like this race isn't even happening.
Yeah, the only exception to that would be is if, God, I wonder how much of this we should actually say on the air.
None of it, probably. If
Hold on.
If there's a question,
if you
it's
have
a
to
no.
ask the question, the answer is no.
Alex Snicker is thinking that question has probably already been too much said.
Okay.
Exactly. If it's going through your filter and being questioned, the answer is no.
Okay, let me ask you guys. Let me do it in a different way.
Filter anyway.
I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to ask questions.
Okay.
If you're the Democrats, who would you rather have win?
Privately?
Do I want big government, or do I want to embarrass the Republicans? Because if I want big government, I want Jolly.
Well, no. Look at it this way. You got to remember, it's red team, blue team, so they're playing blue team. Long-term blue team politics, who would you rather have win?
Long-term blue team politics, it's still good for my side if government grows. Jolly's going to grow government.
Don't look. No. You don't want the Reds to get the. We'll call them the Reds from now on. You don't want the Reds to get the credit for growing government.
For the red team, blue team politics to continue working, you can't let another team matter.
Oh.
So they are going to support Jolly. They are going to continue the red team, blue team paradigm because that is more important than not letting the Republican win.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave
And
it.
not just that. Jolly will probably do like Rubio and talk a really good small government game while he's increasing the size of government because they all do that, right?
Nah.
Which he absolutely did in the last campaign because he's after Lucas started gaining popularity, suddenly the word liberty became a part of his vernacular. And
Like he even knew what that meant.
yeah. I remember sitting in the debate, turning into Inigo Montoya. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Yeah. Which he used it more than Lucas did.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, man? What are you doing, guy? Get up there. Say a word, damn it. Say the word. So, at any rate, I'm not going to go down the road I was going to go down then, so that's a good thing. Now, the other thing that just happened the other day, and I wanted to mention this because I'm not, in a weird way, I'm going to defend Jolly on this one for a second. Jolly had 2 events that he could have gone to. One of them was an opening for a VA clinic, where it was like a VA clinic opening, and the other one was a funeral for a Navy SEAL that had died. And that the family said that they actually invited him to this thing. Now, he was supposed to be a speaker. He was listed as a speaker on the other one. And he didn't go to the grand opening for the VA center. He went to the funeral instead. And I saw a lot of people, even the Times, gave Jolly crap for this. And they made it into this big story. And it's crap that they would even do this. And the reason why is, look, he had 2 different things to pick, and he picked the right one. Instead of a hoity-toity let's show how much more money we spend on the government, even though I wouldn't disagree with spending money with the VA. Even though that already's happened, he didn't go to that. He went to the funeral, which was a much more a more worthwhile thing to go to. So hats off to the guy for picking the right thing. Now, you're kind of a dummy for not having enough communication. I mean, you look, I can understand if you didn't have any money how it's hard to communicate sometimes. But look, you got staff, you got paid people to do all this stuff, man. How in the world were you set up to speak at one and ended up going to the other? Like, you're kind of dumb for that.
And no one knew.
And nobody knew. So that's kind of dumb, but...
He knows where the bathrooms are, though.
No, he doesn't know where the bathrooms are.
And parking lots.
Yeah, and it did show, in my opinion, on Jolly, it showed that for all the talk of what you just said, that they're not even that organized at all. Like, Jolly, you got to get organized, son.
Yeah. If his staff couldn't tell the people, that the organizers of the dedication of the VA center, that he was, he's been called to a funeral for a Navy SEAL. He's unfortunately not going to be able to attend because he's going to be attending these funeral services. That should have just been told to them, because that's a very admirable reason to be missing.
And send some low-ranking staffer to speak for him. You've probably got some military vet on your staff who's your military affairs dude. Send him or her there. Have him or her speak. Say, hey, I'm at the SEAL funeral, and nobody even bothers with it.
Yeah, and that's what he should have done, is send a proxy over to the VA center and said, the congressman would like to be here today, but, this is where he's at. He's written a statement that I'm going to read on his behalf.
Or maybe he shouldn't have done what he said he wasn't going to do and gone in and fired all of the previous staff, because they at least seemed to know what they were doing as far as scheduling speaking events and coordinating Bill Young's calendar.
Oh, man, I didn't even realize that thing was like a month ago. This happened a while back.
It was just in the news.
Well, no. Actually, it was on my feed, and then it came up here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind then. So I guess that was a while back. And Bill Arrakis was there, of course.
He's at everything.
That
guy's ain't
except the vote.
You know what? I will tell you. I will tell you this though. I will tell you this. I was talking to somebody who actually went to school with this guy.
With who? David Jolly?
No, with Bill Arrakis.
Oh, with Bill Arrakis.
And says that everybody thinks that this guy's a big dummy, and he ain't.
He's deaf. So
but he ain't stupid.
But when he speaks, he actually does sound like he's actually mentally handicapped, but he's not. He's deaf. So his verbal communication just isn't as well. Like, he's not. He pronounces the words as someone who is deaf and had to learn how to speak. Now, if you look, because I have seen it, we've seen him in person and stuff. We've seen him a bunch of times. It looks like he's since gotten a cochlear implant. So he does hear now. But at some point in his life, and you can tell by his speech pattern, that he was deaf or at least partially deaf. And that's the reason for his speech to be like that.
Yeah. So at any rate, so Lucas now is in a race, and you're right about that. So it's deceiving. So whenever you see Bilirakis, don't think he's dumb because he ain't.
Right.
Be careful. He's got
Not dumb. He's evil.
He's got an advantage. Yeah. I actually did not. I used to not think he was as evil, but by finding that part out now, I'm like, oh, he is kind of evil, isn't he?
You know, and everyone just assumed that he was dumb because of number one, his speech pattern, but number two is that he doesn't do public speaking. He doesn't speak in public, so they always send a proxy. So they'll, it's been widely assumed that, well, it's because they don't want him answering questions. It's not because they don't want him answering questions. It's because of his speech pattern. Because at least at some point of his growing up, he was partially deaf.
Yeah. Well, do we got to take a break right now?
We don't have to.
We don't have to anymore in the second hour.
Oh, we don't?
We have to do it in the third hour.
Oh.
We're running with no breaks, yo.
Oh crap. Oh crap. Watch out. All right. So Lucas is in this race. It's going to be Jolly against Lucas. Now, I'm going to make the case right now on why Lucas can win this thing. I did it before. You only got 5%, so I know people are going to be suspect of how I say this, but let me go ahead and say it right now like this. The Democrats are pissed. Now, they're pissed at their own party, but they're also pissed at the Republicans. They're automatically going to be pissed at the Republicans, but they're pissed at themselves right now, too, because they geeked this whole thing up. You know what I mean? It wasn't them that necessarily geeked it up. It was really the leadership of their party geeked it up.
Right.
Lucas is, if we're going to call it one thing, he's a left-leaning libertarian. Right? A good way of saying it?
Yeah, that would be a good way.
He's a libertarian, but he's one that came from the left.
The left side of the spectrum.
I mean, he was always a libertarian, mind you, so I'm not even saying he wasn't, but he came more from his issues that were single issues that he was being active on, that his activism was based on many ones that have a lot of agreement with the left.
Right. Well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that he came from the left because he's been a libertarian his entire life.
Yeah.
But he's on the left side of the spectrum of libertarianism.
Correct. I think that the Democrats in Pinellas County, without another choice, are going to look at this race and going to go, you know what? I really think we ought to vote for Lucas in this one. I think that they're going to, in mass, vote for him.
Okay, actually worked.
Well, I actually think that you're right, but I don't think it's going to be like leadership kind of things. I think the leadership is going to be like, well, David Jolly's up there, and we don't want to upset the red team, blue team, kind of dynamic. So, so I don't think you're going to see leadership. Anyone who's in a leadership position, anyone publicly, I don't think you're going to see come out in support of Lucas. But what I do think you're going to see is a mass number of, especially Democrats, coming out for Amendment 2. They're not going to be happy with given a case where there's only a Republican and a Libertarian, I can't see them going for the Republican, especially with the record that David Jolly has had in office. So I think that you're going to see, you're going to see the average everyday Democrat definitely going for Lucas. I don't think you're going to see that from the actual leadership.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to see what I think is going to happen here is because Amendment 2 is on the ballot and they're going to be pushing hard for Amendment 2, what you're going to see here is you're going to see Amendment 2 bring in a lot of people. And by bringing in that many people, I think you're going to have a whole like a whole different scenario that can happen where I think Lucas does have a better shot of being able to actually, pull this thing off. But let's get to Brandon, though.
Okay.
All right. So
Brandon's on the line.
Brandon, are you there?
I am. How's everyone?
We're doing well.
Doing well. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, very, very blessed. Thank you for having me again.
No problem at all, man. So what's going on in the global dispatch land?
Well, it's great to see the entire world catch up to us as we've been covering Boko Haram. That's the Nigerian group that's kidnapped almost 300 little girls. And it's finally nice to see that the press and the general public have acknowledged that this has been going on we've been covering it since 2009, 2010. So it's kind of been a big topic of discussion in our world as of late.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys, but you guys are generally ahead of the curve on these things because you do a lot more accurate reporting. But it is nice to see at least getting some national press here because at the end of the day, these are children that are being victimized, and nobody seemed to want to talk about it.
Well, and it's just sad to see so many talking heads, pretend that they have a clue to what they're talking about, because they really haven't been talking about the situation in Africa, all of Africa, but especially in Nigeria, because this is a country that has been in a state of emergency since 2011. That's how bad the terrorism situation there, how bad Sharia law is controlling the northern half of this country. They've declared war on all Christians, but I mean they're rolling grenades in Catholic mass, just killing people. So it has just been chaos for a very long time, and you want to hope that some publicity and things like that can get some positive things done. But in the news this week, sadly, John McCain proved that there's a faction of our political leadership that are still buffoons, and he actually was talking about military intervention, and he would have already sent troops, and was kind of disparaging towards the president, calling him some guy, which is not an appropriate way to speak of a foreign dignitary, especially for someone who was campaigning to be president. But I know I'm talking to the choir here when I'm bad-mouthing John McCain.
Yeah. Here's the thing when it comes to John McCain, by the way. Like, what kind of a guy is this that just has no respect for anybody else? So I wouldn't be waiting for some kind of permission from the leader of that country so we can invade the thing without declaring war. Like, it's unconstitutional completely. Not only is it just bad form and bad policy, it's a good thing he didn't win the presidency, because this is the last guy in the world we want with the finger on the button.
I think my commentary on this is still on the front page of the Global Dispatch, and you'll see that I do point out that President Goodluck Jonathan has never even asked for international or America's help in this. At one point, they tried two different things. They tried to denounce that it was this bad. That didn't last very long, because obviously every time there's a Christian holiday, there's an attack that murders countless people. And then after that didn't work, they tried amnesty, where they were willing to extend amnesty to all of these terrorists and kind of rescind all of the warrants against them, all the crimes against them, and that didn't work either. So he really has no desire to reach out to the international community for help. I mean, he's watching his country just burn. He's coming up for election again, so maybe with the publicity of all this, it might change things there in the landscape, but at least for now, I don't see that.
Yeah, and again, it's like McCain and Graham do the best that they can to just say the stupidest stuff possible whenever it's the least convenient.
Yeah.
Well, they have at least admitted that they don't know what's going on. Remember, they visited Syria and Egypt, and they came back and go, I didn't know it was that bad. I'm like, well, that's actually leaked over to the regular press. So it really just goes to show how clueless the two of you really are.
Yeah. Not only that, but John McCain will have pictures of himself with Al Qaeda. Be like, I don't.
Yeah,
they seem like a nice enough guys.
You didn't know it was this bad? Check out YouTube, man.
Yeah. Seriously, have a staffer watch it.
They're both pro-Muslim Brotherhood. They were anti-Mubarak. They were pro-Muslim Brotherhood. Now the Brother, that's turned against them. And in Syria, of course, they're pro-Syrian rebels. That's the al-Nusra and the al-Qaeda terrorists that are, butchering people in the streets. I'm not saying that Assad is a good man or a good leader by any stretch of imagination, but that's kind of McCain and Graham's, motivation here, to create all-out war, to invade these countries and do this. This is how their mindset is aligned.
Yeah, it's a weird. It is a really weird deal with these guys, and I'm really hoping that, because Graham's going to win this next election, so you got Lindsey Graham for the next 6 years. McCain's up in 14, though, I think, and I'm really hoping that that this guy does not stay up there any longer than at all possible. This guy is John McCain is a threat to this country. He really is.
Yeah,
his stupidity can cause wars. And I really hope that, you know what irks me is that a lot of the mainstream media still puts this guy on the air. Like, you want to talk about, for some reason Ron Paul's not credible, but the guy that goes bomb, 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 Iran is somehow the guy that they put on there to talk intelligently about foreign policy. When this guy's like, well, sovereignty, what do I care about sovereignty? Let's just do whatever we're going to do. Like, this... this guy offends my sense of being.
He's like Cartman on South Park.
He's a grown-up Cartman.
Do not insult Cartman.
Yeah, I'm Cartman here too.
Yeah, I'm pro Cartman. If it was Cartman against John McCain, I'm pro Cartman. I'm just saying.
It seems like everybody's got goldfish memory when it comes to McCain, though, because nobody ever talks about all the horrible things he's done. I mean, he has tried to start fist fights on the House floor before. Yeah. He has cussed people out.
Yeah. He was involved in Keating 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was involved in Keating 5. I know he never did get charged with anything, but It wasn't because and that never mind. A scumbag in his personal life and as a politician. He is an all around scumbag. There's no getting around that with John McCain. It's like the three politicians now. The four politicians that offend me the most. I'll go with Obama, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and Rick Santorum.
Who's number 4?
Rick Santorum. Obama, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Rick Santorum. Those four politicians offend me the most. They anger me. Like I anger. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. We're way off subject right now. Back to the Global Dispatch. Now you're also following the Veterans Affair, the VA issue that is going on right now. Can you give us a little bit on that?
Well, just another latest scandal. You know, there's an investigation that's gone on. You have 40 individuals that have passed away. There's a lot of guidelines and regulations in the healthcare industry about wait times and how you handle different procedures and that kind of thing. And it really kind of is a shame that this is all coming to light. The most kind of thing was how defensive the testimony became over how he's not going to resign and, we need to wait longer. And Darrell Issa is also in hot water. And a separate thing because he's trying to subpoena John Kerry on Benghazi. And so you have the entire Obama administration kind of under the microscope and being scrutinized with Congress back and forth. But the Obama administration doesn't really comply. They just kind of drag their feet on these type of scandals. They kind of just crunch through the mud long enough for American people not to get riled up. I mean, we could count, 8 significant scandals that, if this was the Bush administration, the press would be, every one of them should be in jail. But if you poll America, Tom DeLay versus, Susan Rice, for instance, they wouldn't even know who Susan Rice is. So it just kind of shows where we're at with this, and the VA affair is just kind of the latest, greatest, and just a complete debacle from this administration.
Yeah, and it's just another another debacle that they have. And it's, you know what, I will say this, though, and I don't know if people are going to agree with me or not agree with me. This VA scandal would have happened whether it was Republicans or Democrats in power.
Absolutely. It's the horrible management of the Veterans Administration in itself.
It's government managing it in and of itself is really the problem.
And it's that they are at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, they don't give a crap about the vet. They don't really care. I mean, as much as they want to say, well, salute the vets. And you know what the funny part is that, look, when it comes to government and what the proper role of government there would be, promoting good ideas and talking and saying, well, you should wear your seatbelt and you should do these things. I ain't got a problem with the government saying those things. I don't want them to pass a law, but I don't have a problem with them saying it. But when it comes to the troops, like, look, you say you're taking care of these people, and you're letting them die. Like, you got people, again, I know Brandon said it in a certain way, but I don't think he put the proper context to it. They let 40 vets die because they didn't want to take care of them, because of the paperwork snafu. And then Bernie Sanders is going to come out there and say, oh, the VA's just fine. Tell that to the 40 families. Right. You tell that to them, you socialist scumbag. Bernie Sanders, another one that definitely, he put him on the list. That's 5. That's 5, because Bernie Sanders is one of them. Because he's full of crap. The reason he's got to say that is because he doesn't want to be proven that government health care sucks. And because the VA will prove it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the government doesn't care about the soldiers while they're in service, other than what they can use them for. And then once they're done with them, they really don't care about them.
What were you going to say, Brandon?
Well, I just want to say, because I've worked in healthcare for so long, I think what we do see with the VA is a total government-controlled system. So it's not like the VA hospitals are in there taking Blue Cross patients or Cigna patients or anything like that. So you really see, everyone complains about the VA as though the government doesn't care. My argument has always been, when you're in healthcare, the government doesn't care about any of us. It's not felt as bad in our normal doctor's offices, our normal lab clinics and hospitals, because it's watered down with the private patients. What you see in the VA is just a precursor of what socialized medicine is like, and how far we are along in that towards comparing it to what it's like in Europe. So, for instance, right now they force this kind of stuff into private stuff. Obamacare is making this 10 times worse because they want to keep pushing us towards that way. You guys would agree with me that nothing is by accident; it's all by design.
Oh, they want single payer, and they're working towards it.
Right, and this is one of the things I think we need to watch for and keep our eye out with the VA stuff is whether or not this pushes towards more automation and more red tape and more headaches they'll make it sound like it's for the VA, but it will in fact be for everyone. It will continue to be more issues. So I know one of the things that was a really big hassle, and it's a lot of labor costs, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of technical issues of trying to keep up with the regulations, and patients can't wait so long for this, patient can't wait for a lot. So while we don't know all the details yet, what I want everybody to leave with is understand the VA system is so bad because that is only a government system. They're only government patients. The only thing you have remotely that's comparable to how bad the VA is like just the Medicaid-run health clinics. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to go to those. Nobody ever speaks about how bad those are. And it's the same kind of thing. Patients wait forever. They don't get coverage. They don't get this. They don't get that. So just understand that that's the single-payer system. That is a reflection of how bad we are today in America because that is the government-run system.
Yeah, and that's exactly the system that they have in places overseas, where the exact same system that they have in Canada, where everyone goes to these things and says, well, other countries do it and they don't go bankrupt. Well, that is true, but their people suffer for it. We had family in Canada that would literally take a vacation to Florida just so that they could see a doctor because they hadn't been able to see their cardiologist in 8 months.
Yeah. Now
you can get your dog's MRI done and scheduled before you can get your own.
Yeah. You know what? We did a show. I did an interview yesterday on NPR, not NPR, but on 88.5 Radioactive or whatever, but WNMF. And a lot of the questions that came up were the Medicaid questions, were the Medicare questions about the expansion, about Obamacare in and of itself, these kinds of things. And I didn't, because it was me and Adrian was on, and then we had Mitch Perry from, he was interviewing us from Creative Loafing. He was interviewing us. And I didn't get to this part because I was in a good mood and I wasn't trying to go down the road, but I wanted to go. Look, you want to look at what government healthcare looks like, then go look at the VA, and they killed 40 people. Like, they've done this. And again, their rationale for many of these decisions is that they don't have the money. Again, I think that was what the definition of a death panel was. For as much as I don't disagree with for as much as I disagree with Sarah Palin, that death panel's comment was pretty dead on. That's what they're doing.
Well, it's exactly what's happening in the United Kingdom. I mean, they've had countless reports that are kind of buried. I mean, the Daily Mail is making the BBC look bad on this topic because they're the only ones that are digging deeper into what's happened to the elderly patients, the nursing homes. They have patients that are just dying in hospitals waiting for tests or surgeries that just aren't getting done in time because of red tape and government protocol. And, you got to fill out this. And people just die all the time. And, we're already there, especially in Europe. Canada is really just ready to just totally implode on itself, where you're going to see this kind of stuff hit the headlines. But on the government corruption part, we might as well just go ahead and throw the IRS in, since it came out this week about $13 to $15 billion of fraud in just earned income credit, not tax fraud as a whole. Just earned income credit fraud was $13 to $15 billion. And again, drag our feet, double speak in a congressional hearing, that kind of thing. That's what we're headed for.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing because it's certain. And again, this is how the government picks winners and losers. Right. Is that they will go after some people and guns drawn, SWAT teams out there off of their bad tax bill. But you got $13 billion in fraud going on somewhere else. Like what the hell is wrong? I don't understand how people don't see this as for what it is, which is a total. I mean, this is power run amok, and they're not fixing anything. They're wasting your money over and over again, and you're just not. You don't care. Remember the lady down here in Florida who got hundreds of was it tens of millions of dollars? Yeah, she was able to just claim so many different things. Was doing tax fraud to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And it was clear, if you looked at the evidence, it was like, well, no crap, she's cheating the system.
Like at some point, a red flag should have gone up in year 2.
Yeah, like $20 million ago.
Yeah. Yeah, like at some point, it should have been I don't think any one person can have that many kids.
Well,
yeah.
And we're going to have guys with guns and badges kicking down people's doors, taking them to jail for $185 earned income credit on their tax form. Yet the people at the head of JP Morgan are still free.
Yeah. Rick Scott committed the greatest Medicare fraud in the history of Medicare, or Medicaid, or whatever. And that dude is the governor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, he went on the stage and or he, went up there
He
and
went on the stand.
Went on the stand and would basically plead the fifth 85 or 70 something times.
75 times he pleaded the fifth.
And then Charlie Crist has the testicular fortitude to try to complain about that when Jim Greer took a fell on the sword for him to stop everybody from finding out about his government corruption. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, I'm just telling the truth about Rick Scott, and that's why they're not, doing this and this. You know what, guy? Jim Greer. Let's let him talk about what you did before you start running your mouth about anybody being corrupt. You flip-floppy as flip-flopper that ever flipped a flop. Damn it. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Well, I wish I had good news for you in the pop culture world, but we did get the bad news this week that Revolution was officially canceled.
Oh.
This is the last episode, isn't it? Coming up next week.
It's dead, man. I'm sorry. I know that it means a lot to you.
It does. I like the show, and I'm a little irked that the next week's going to be the last episode, even though I did see this Wednesday's at like 2 in the morning on Wednesday.
I'm really, really upset that I really think that the way they did the scheduling and things like that killed the show rather than the content of the show. Because how many times did we miss shows because they had been on a break for 3 weeks and we didn't really know when they were coming back? Or all of a sudden we'd turn on the TV at 8 o'clock thinking it was going to be on there and they were on yet another 2-week break.
You know what? I liked the show. I like where it was going. I think that they were able to pull the nano thing in pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to end it all next week because they're going to hopefully they're going to try to bring it to some conclusion.
I don't think they've wrapped it up. I think it's just going to leave on a open note because I don't think this was known ahead of time that they were canceling. We should have known a little bit because a lot of them already have other jobs, and it was a little frustrating to see this all transpire just so quickly the way it did.
Man, I hope that they did enough because they did say, well, no, next week's show is how will it all end. You know what I mean? So they did in the previews. They kind of made it seem that way. But we'll see. Oh, God, I hope they don't mess it all up.
I'm very upset because I feel like the network tanked the show.
Yeah, like it was a good show. I liked it. I liked the show, man.
I just hope the network picks up Jericho to replace it.
Get out of here with Jericho crap.
Not in the cards yet. Netflix is actually the one that's courting Jericho, so if that actually happens, I mean, we really need to kind of come out and turn out and support these Marvel shows and House of Cards. Want to get Netflix actually making some real money, and they'll revive some sort of form of Jericho.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the cool things I think you're starting to see overall when it comes to these shows. I mean, what they did with what was it called again? The Netflix one, the one with Spacey. No, not Jericho, but the one with Kevin Spacey, the House of Cards.
House of Cards.
So what they did with that's not on regular TV; it's on Netflix.
Right.
Like that's crazy.
Correct.
They have a couple shows.
That's a whole new deal right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool that they're doing that kind of stuff. I mean,
Well, they did it with Arrested Development when the networks wouldn't do it. They bought the rights to Arrested Development and brought it back for a while. So they've done some good stuff. So anyway, folks, you can check out the Transformers trailer. We got that up this morning. Of course, if you're not up to date on Arrow and the new preview of The Flash, that's really been big for us. And of course, I'm sorry to say, Danielle, that Florida's topping our weird news list again this morning. We have the Florida teacher that is, stealing money out of his students' lockers. Sadly,
yeah,
that was
it's always
weird
Florida.
crime of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
reset the counter back to zero.
We're like the land of the weird.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding at all. All right, well, Brandon, the website is theglobaldispatch.com. His name is Brandon. Thank you so much, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
You guys take care. Talk hard.
Talk hard. I can't believe they're going to cancel Revolution, man.
No, I know.
I totally can.
I'm actually pretty.
Hey, you're rooting for it, Greg. You're rooting for it, man.
It's because
watch
of
out.
you. It's your letter writing campaign.
Yeah, you wrote a strongly worded letter to NBC telling them to cancel the show, and they did.
I honestly think that they did this.
It's about time they listened to me.
I think that they did this to the show themselves. I mean, I think the weird scheduling of it. You never knew when it was going to be on. Mm-hmm. Not only did they change the date and time this season, but they never really ran the show. You'd get 2 weeks and then a break and then a week and then another break and then 3 weeks and then a break. So I think that their own scheduling just tanked the show.
Yeah, that's what killed it for me. They kept calling them seasons. There did not seem to be clearly defined seasons.
No.
I could never catch it consistently.
Right.
After the first season, I didn't really watch it anymore because I couldn't catch it consistently. And what I did catch didn't make sense anymore.
Well, yeah, because if you missed an episode in that show, you had no idea what was going on.
And it seemed to me a lot. To me, it was a parallel to the show Heroes. The first season was good. The second season, just what are they doing with this?
Yeah.
Where are they going? This makes no sense at all, and it just ruined it.
I will say this about the show Revolution, is that while I thought that the ensemble that they had was a pretty good ensemble, they weren't, for some of their good qualities, they also had some bad qualities. You know what I mean? Like the characters were good, but they weren't like, there was some issues at times. And those characters had a hard time, like, because of the way that the show was set up, which I thought was a cool dynamic. I mean, there's no good guys in this whole show. Like, nobody's really a good guy.
Right.
There's people that are trying to be good guys, but
After
sometimes
they've
they
been
falter.
bad guys.
Yeah, but after they've been bad guys. So it's a weird deal that you got some people that are good, some people that are bad. But, like, I don't know how to explain it. But I overall, I did like the show, though. I thought they jumped the shark a little bit with the nano thing.
They brought it back, though.
Yeah, they did, and they did bring it back, but they did jump the shark a little bit.
Oh, yeah. No, they did. Because for a while, I was kind of like, I don't know about all this sci-fi stuff. What's going on? But then they did bring it back, and I thought it was good, but I think their programming scheduling just kind of tanked the show.
Yeah, no, and that they did do that, though. You're absolutely right about that. So, all right, well, hey, look, hour number 2 is in the bag. Hour number 3 is coming up. Oh, if you'd like to call the program, by the way, the number is 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. And we will be back after these messages. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit TackleMyTicket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at TackleMyTicket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm ready to die, but not for love. See the signs appear. It's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground. Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio.
Well, good morning, Clearwater, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg. This is Alex Snicker, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Danielle Alexandra. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, I forgot we got so into having to run all the boards and stuff. You actually never introduced me in the first hour.
You might be right, but I was tired. And I'm only now just even kind of getting some energy, so you'll have to forgive me. Do you forgive me?
I do, because I know the rough night we all had last night.
There you go.
It was very not so nice.
You know, I'll tell you this, by the way, is that when you can't sleep, like when you have a hard time sleeping, and I don't have a good enough time sleeping as it is, but if you really have a hard time sleeping, boy, I'm telling you, boy, the next day, man, just not fun. I'm just saying. So, especially when you got all this stuff going on and like there's this whole big weekend of things planned and you have responsibilities the whole weekend and it starts immediately following, you know, it starts right away. So you're like, oh man, boy, this is really good.
What kind of responsibilities do you have this weekend?
Well, let me tell you. Danielle, go ahead.
Today, actually, basically, I think that the social starts at 6, but you can start getting there and walking around at 4.
Yeah.
But today starts the weekend-long event of the Libertarian Party of Florida annual convention.
Yes.
It is in downtown Tampa at the Howard Johnson Hotel, which is right as you get into downtown.
At the Hojo.
At the Hojo. Which actually, when we got there, because we've actually done the walkthrough and everything, it's actually really nice. Like, I didn't expect it to be as nice as it is.
Well, no. Any of the downtown Tampa hotels, for the most part, that are like the bigger hotels down there are always pretty nice.
Yeah. So, but there's a bunch of speakers going on. There's a lot of events going on. The Libertarian Party of Pasco County is hosting the hospitality suite, which is going to be open most of the day tomorrow. The Libertarian Party of Pinellas has a party bus going on tonight. There's a lot of free events. There's a few paid for events. If the event has a meal, generally it's a paid event. If it doesn't, it's generally a free event. The business meeting is free all weekend. You do not have to be a registered libertarian to sit in on our business meeting. We open it up to the public. You can sit there. You can watch.
You just can't vote.
You just can't vote.
Sorry.
You can't sway the direction of our party, but we open it up to everyone. Come and look and see what we do. And it's. I like these weekends. I hate the business aspect of it. It just annoys me to all end. But I do love to see everyone come in from all around the state and to be able to see everyone that you don't necessarily get to see all the time or get to talk to all the time. So I enjoy that part of it, but I hate the business end.
It's funny because that's like why I have avoided the conventions always.
Is the business or seeing the people?
The people.
I don't even know what to say about that, Greg.
There's only some people. Right?
Some people.
Look,
yeah,
I actually, the funny part about it is I do enjoy, look, I think that you meet to do the business aspect. You get those things done. You have a good time. And I'm going to try to renew my ability to have a good time on things. So I'm going to work on that personally this weekend. That's going to be one of my personal things, is to try to enjoy myself more and not think of it nearly as much as work, because I do think of it as, especially this time. Like every time I go to one of these events, I have a booth. You know what I'm saying? Like, before I've always had a booth at the
which
thing
I did
for the convention.
try to talk you out of having a booth this year.
And this time I had bought two.
Yeah.
What booths do you have? You have two booths this year?
I do. I have two booths there.
One is for the show.
One's for the show.
Okay.
Which we're just going to have the table, put the postcards on there, sign up form. That's pretty much about it. And then we're going to have for the Liberty First Network, we'll have a booth.
Okay.
So we can explain to libertarians about, policy and what goes on there. And they can fill out a constituent survey if they choose to.
Which, again, I was all for just leaving the material at the booth and not. I did not. Honestly, I may go to next year's convention. I may not. I don't have to go after this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going. But because I really did want to enjoy myself and be able to talk to people and not have to work behind a booth, I actually made a very, very, very strong case for not buying any booths this year. But I was outvoted.
And
clearly, twice.
It was well noted, and it was denied.
Yeah.
Sorry about your luck.
And it was a very loud argument, I just got to say.
I'm sure it was.
It was definitely a loud argument. I'm still hearing it now.
Yeah.
But it'll be a good weekend. Like if you want to go and meet a whole bunch of libertarians and you want to talk to them and really engage with like-minded people, it's a good thing to go to. It really is it's a good event to be able to go to. It's going to be jam-packed. I think it's going to be bigger than it's ever been. At least in recent history, at least as long as I've been going to these things, it's going to be bigger than any of those, and I think it's going to be a good time. I think you're going to get a new influx of people that you don't normally see at the convention, and I think that'll be a good thing. I think it'll show growth within the party. I think you're going to have a lot of people getting involved, and I think that it'll be pretty good. And we have I think we have more stuff than we had in years past, so I think that's going to be a good thing too. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. In some ways, I'm looking forward to it. In some ways, I realize that I got a lot of work to do. So I'm like, oh boy. Oof.
I'm just waiting for the moment where Alex and Wes Benedict cross paths.
You know what? Honestly, I am going to make it a point, and I thought about this later on, as I'm going to make it a point to just avoid any bad things.
Right.
But you're going positive. To the convention.
And keep it positive. No. I mean, look, for all the people that would be there that I might disagree with, there are also going to be a ton of people there that I will love and cherish, and I'm going to dedicate my time toward those people and not towards negativity.
Last year before the convention, and it seems like every year before the convention, there's certain people in the party. I mean, and this happens in every party. There are certain people that just don't like what's going on. They're very loud and boisterous. They don't do much else but be loud and boisterous, but they are, and they tend to get a little louder right before convention. But what I noticed last year, because I was very much dreading going into the convention last year because of some of the things that were going on right before it. But when we got there, there was no issue. Like everyone was very pleasant. There was no, people who didn't like each other just stayed away from each other. There was, no bad feelings really that you would have known if you had been an observer. You never would have known that some of these people didn't even get along. And I really think that'll happen again this year.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to say about this, by the way, because in the past 12 months, I have been involved in a couple different groups and organizations. And let me tell you, is that if you think that that's specific for the LP, that there's people that don't get along, you ain't seen nothing compared to some of the stuff I've seen with other groups and organizations that are out there. We are
Not
tame,
even political ones.
Not even political ones. We are tame in comparison.
Well, I mean, at least all of us did sign the NAP, so it's going to be loud, it's going to be ugly, but it's not going to be violent.
Well, really, last year wasn't. It wasn't loud. It wasn't. I mean, there was no contention at all. Everyone pretty much just got along.
Did you go? You go last year, didn't you?
He didn't go last year.
Oh no, you didn't. Oh no, it was totally tame.
You would not. Anyone who had seen just the kind of what was going on before the convention would not have even believed how pleasant it was at the convention.
It shows you how big the muscles are behind the keyboard and how big they are in person.
Well, that's a good point as well.
That has a lot to do with it. But
Instead of saying it that way, I'm going to say, look, everybody was respectful.
Yeah.
At least somewhat. I mean, it was at least to most people, it was very well done. And again, I was glad that I was glad with the turnout. I won for vice chair in that year, and was able to secure 80% of the vote, which was a good time. So I was feeling pretty good about that.
Wish it had worked out that way for Senate, but hey.
80%.
Yeah, I know.
That 80% number is something we like. He is so proud of that 80% that he finds a way to fit that into every conversation that we ever have.
Yeah, yeah.
and it probably gets brought up whenever the number 80 appears as well, doesn't it?
That's the percentage of vote I want.
80, that's exactly the percentage I got when I wrote.
Yeah.
No, and personally, I do have two major announcements to make that I will be making at the convention as well. Personal ones.
Personal announcements?
Personal announcements. Well, business. No, I'm not running for sheriff. No, I'm not going to do that. However, I do have two announcements that I'm going to make, and I will be making those announcements during my remarks for vice chair. Or as the vice chair report, I will be making those remarks at that point in time. So if you want to hear those things, I'm not going to give it to you on the show today. You have to go to the convention to hear that.
Ooh.
Gives you one more reason. Exciting.
There are a lot of good reasons to go this year. Like I said, I've never gone to the convention just because there's a lot of reasons that I came up with to avoid it. But this year, I'm really excited about going.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be a good time.
It'll be good. Of course, because we have to work a lot of it, I will be happy when it's over. Not because I'm dreading being with those people or anything like that. It's literally just because I know the insurmountable amount of work that we have going on as soon as the show ends.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it though. Let's get to the
other stuff happened this week. Besides our getting prepared for the state convention, and some of that was we've been talking about what's been going on in the legislative session. We talked about it quite extensively. Kind of did a little year-end session end wrap up last week, but now bills are starting to be signed. What happens is that the governor has 14 days after session to sign all the pieces of legislation. He's got, I think, 1 more week left before all these things. If the governor doesn't sign it, that doesn't mean that it fails. It actually means that it becomes a law without his signature.
Yeah.
So,
explain the reasons for that, by the way.
And this is because even though the governor has the final say, and he does because he has the veto, if he doesn't get to it, it has passed both houses. So the people that were elected to represent the people did, pass the legislation. So it doesn't fail if the governor doesn't sign it. It passes without his signature. And now governors use that as a way to run on to say that, well, I didn't support that. Even though it became a law, they have kind of that plausible deniability where, well, I didn't actually sign that. I didn't support it. It became a law because I didn't sign, even though I didn't sign it. So they kind of have this way of being able to say that they didn't support it, but it also being able to be enacted as law.
Yeah. And it's a little bit of a political ploy where he can do that. But one of the things that he is promising to veto is the speed limit.
Which he has vetoed.
Which he has already vetoed. Yeah. So he vetoed. There was a bill that was up in Tallahassee, and this bill would have allowed. Now it wasn't mandating, by the way. It would have allowed the speed limit to be raised on roads.
Right. Yeah. This would not mandate it for anyone. No county or municipality would have to increase their speed limit. But if they could do so, and and feel that it was within the realm of safety for their citizens, they were now allowed to, because the state mandates how high you can put certain roads to. In fact, all roads, they have it's not a, like recommendation. It's, you can't go past this amount. So they were, the state legislature had proposed a raising of the allowable amount up 5 miles per hour on most roads. And then the counties and municipalities, whoever had authority, jurisdiction over those roads, would decide if they wanted to raise it or not.
Yeah, or the state, because I think the state is the one that runs the interstates.
Certain roads like an interstate, the state would be able to decide.
Yeah,
but
DOT would have done that.
Right, but if it was a county road, if it was something like that, then it would be your county. If it was a road that the municipality kept up with, then it would be your city or municipality. And it was voluntary. It wasn't mandated. And this is one of those things that most people don't realize, is that the studies show that when you raise the speed limit, that actual crashes and accidents go down. So, what happens is when and this is very well documented, that when, that you raise the speed limit, crashes and accidents and even fatal accidents, the amount of those go down. So, this was what was going to be a good bill. It was, studies would show that this would make our roads safer, not less safe. But the governor did veto it.
Yeah, and AAA came out against it too. I don't understand all why. And the sheriffs, I don't think, liked this one either, which I didn't understand why. But I think I understand for the sheriffs one, the reason they didn't like this one is because that means that they would ticket less people, and that would mess with their illegal quotas.
Right.
Because quotas are illegal in this state, by the way. There is a law against the quotas that they do anyway.
But now certain sheriffs were actually in favor of it. It just depended. The Sheriff's Association itself came out against it. But particular sheriffs in many counties and officers actually spoke in favor of this bill.
Yeah. One sheriff in particular, which I'm really not a fan of this guy, Grady Judd over in Polk County, came out against it, called it welcome news. And this is the thing that really starts to irritate me about law enforcement, by the way. This is the very irritating thing, and I wanted to bring this up during this time, is that if you're an agency that enforces the laws, and your revenue streams are dependent upon that enforcement of those certain laws, I don't believe that you should be in the debate as to whether something passes or it doesn't pass, because you have a clear conflict of interest.
Yes.
And I'm adamantly opposed to the Sheriff Association getting in the mix on this issue. They shouldn't have.
And this is actually an issue that, just like the issue of the giving us money back for renewing our tags, when it used to be lower to begin with. Speed limits in the 70s and in the early 80s in the state of Florida were 75 and 85. Oh. They were lowered by state statute somewhere in the mid 80s. Mm-hmm. So this was not like, oh my gosh, they're increasing our speed limits. No, they're bringing them back up to the levels they used to be. And they weren't even bringing them all the way back up. And, and these they've been raised. Senator Jeff Clemens actually said it. He said, unfortunately, the issue became more about emotion than about facts. We've raised the speed limits in the past, and it simply did not result in increased fatalities. And that is actually true. And that's been true all over the country, that as you increase them, you normally see fatalities go down, not rise. It was just something that happened in the mid 80s where there had been a lot of crashes that were alcohol related, and they lowered the speed limits because, of course, government can't really solve an actual problem. They create a different one. And so the speed limits and people who grew up here had, like I was getting a lot of friends that, had parents that grew up here, and they grew up here that was like, well, we have pictures where the signs were 85. Like they're complaining about 75. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so this is just one of those things that, it had nothing to do with any of the facts of the matter. This was just basically a political ploy to, of the governor trying to say, oh, we're trying to make people safe, when it had nothing to do with that. And he did end up vetoing this bill.
Correct. Now, on the line with us right now, though, a gentleman that is running for state senate against. Oh no, it's Karen. Karen, is it Karen instead? Oh, Karen's on. Okay, a woman that is running up in the Panhandle area for State House is a woman by the name of Karen Schoen, running as a Libertarian. Karen, how are you doing?
I am doing great, Alex, and I am so excited to be at my first convention. This is a very exciting thing for me, and I hope everybody will come, will join us, and understand and learn about what the Libertarian Party really means, because we are really promoting freedom and liberty.
Yeah, and Karen, you're no stranger to driving around this entire state because you've done quite a little bit of traveling yourself. In looking at what's been going on around the state and the reaction that you've gotten from people, how are you feeling about the way that things are going out there with when it comes to the grassroots, not when it comes to the politicians. Like, we all know that they're bad people all day long, but when it comes to the people that you're talking to, how has the response been?
It's been amazing. I've been really shocked. No matter who I talk to, it seems as though the people are always talking about the same three issues. They are totally disgusted with education. They feel they've been lied to. They are totally disgusted with the regulations that are pushing them out of business and eroding their private property, which includes their business and property. And they are totally disgusted with the fact that our state is being overrun by foreign corporations who are taking away the jobs of the Floridians, and now, of course, with the illegals. So what we're hearing in the news is not what I'm hearing from the grassroots. And now what I'm getting is, are you a Democrat? No. Are you a Republican? No. Good, I'll vote for you. And I'm getting a lot of that, and that's making me feel great, and they're giving me a chance and an opportunity to explain what the Libertarian Party really means and not what the media is telling them that it means.
Yeah, no, and that is a good point, by the way. That it does seem that once you're able to, they ask you the question of, if you're Democrat or Republican, you say no, I'm a Libertarian. It seems to me that when you're talking to, the regular everyday up and down the street people, that they're actually interested to hear what you want to say, and it lends itself to a much more of an engaging conversation than what you typically would get, with just talking points kind of conversations that you would have with candidates normally. So it's good to hear that you're out there and that once you let them know that they're like, oh, well, let's talk then. What do you stand for? What are you for? What are you against? What's going on here? So that's going pretty well now. And you're down here for the convention because you're normally up in the Panhandle. How has it been up in the Panhandle? With the competition that you have, though, are you seeing them at all? Are you seeing their supporters at all, or are they really pretty much nowhere to be found?
Well, what they are doing right now is out there gathering money from special interests, and they're not talking to the people. I'm out there talking to the people. I actually had a reporter call me, and he said, well, we don't really consider you a real candidate because your competition, Brad Drake, well, he has already collected $220,000, and Jan Hooks has $50,000, and you really haven't collected it. Why should we consider you as a viable candidate? And my answer was, I'm not collecting money, I'm collecting people. People have a voice, they need a voice, and it's the people that vote, not the money that votes. So he was kind of taken aback, and he didn't report that.
No. Oh, no, absolutely he wouldn't. Now,
that's the way I feel. It's more important for me to meet as many people as possible, to hear their voice, and have them understand that by electing me, they will have a voice in Tallahassee, because I refuse to be beholden to special interests. I'm not going to have anybody tap me on the shoulder and say, I gave you money, you have to vote that way. No, that's not what this is about. This is about bringing the voice of the people who will elect me back to Tallahassee where it needs to be, and exposing the corruption of which it is massive.
Oh, it is really a huge amount. I know we're doing some there's some investigations that we're currently handling right now when it comes to being able to show exactly what it is that you're talking about, which we will be
we'll be reporting on.
We'll be reporting on in the next couple weeks here. We're going to actually have that stuff out there just to reiterate your point, because and this is what I think a lot of times what happens is that we can go out there and say, look, they're all corrupt, they're all crooks, and it's true. It's totally true. However, it is a much more powerful thing, and I know that you do, and I know that you do this already. It is a much more powerful thing to be able to identify exactly what they're doing, why they're corrupt, to show them the legalized money laundering that they're doing up in Tallahassee right now. And that does lend people much more to say, okay, well, yeah, there's no way I can vote for that person again. And they can look at what happened in my county, in Pasco County, because a woman that was running, now she was running as a Democrat, but a woman that was running that was against somebody that had like 10-1 money. Is that what it was? Or?
Yeah, it ended up being 10-1.
Yeah, 10-1 on the money side. She won, so she beat the money. So it's possible to do. So the reporter just hasn't caught up with that yet.
You know, one of the things that several people told me the same thing, and they said, you're actually telling us what's going on. Nobody else is doing that. Because I start a conversation by talking about two very important things near and dear to me. One being Common Core as a former teacher, that is total 100% communism, and the only people that are going to benefit from that are the vendors who are putting this program in place, including Jeb Bush, who's high on his grade. But the other thing that's near and dear to me is the loss of our private property. And Amendment 1, Amendment 2, we know that's going to draw people, but we need to be talking about Amendment 1. This is a total fabrication. It's a total lie. Let's use the right word. It says land and water conservation. It means land and water control. And as I'm traveling around the district, I am actually finding that the Water Management District, which is an unconstitutional agency to begin with, is going around and telling the farmers that they have to put meters on their private wells. Well, we all know that he who controls the water is going to wind up controlling the food, who's going to wind up controlling the people. And the farmers have every right to say, no, it's my well, it's my water, you cannot put a meter on it, and if I have to use extra water in a drought or whatever to water my crops, I'm not going to pay extra. But that's what's going on. I spoke to several farmers who work with restaurants. They cannot even sell their produce directly to the restaurant. It has to go now to a processing plant. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar to what they tried to pass with the breweries?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing are happening to the farmers and the cattlemen. They have to take their produce to a processing place, to a distribution, before it can get to a restaurant. In the meantime, the food that's coming in from overseas doesn't touch anything. This is totally 100% unfair for the Florida farmers. They've done exactly the same thing for the truckers. We allow Mexican truckers in, we allow Canadian truckers in, and they don't have to shut off their rigs and take a break like our truckers now have to do. So everything is being slanted away from the producers of small business in Florida and being shifted into international corporations. Well, that's wrong. And the people have a voice, and now we have to have leadership to be able to use it and to be able to promote the truth so that people understand what's going on, why prices are unnecessarily skyrocketing.
Exactly. Now, if people want to get involved and support your campaign, what is the contact information? What's the website address? All that kind of contact information that we can let the listeners know about.
Vote KarenSchoen.com, and that's Karen, Karen, Schoen, Schon, VoteKarenSchoen.com. And all of the people in Florida, when a representative, no matter what district they come from, go to Tallahassee and does a vote, that vote is for the entire state. So yes, I represent District 5, VoteKarenSchoen.com. However, I will be representing the entire state when I make a vote and when I make what is known and what is going on presented to the public. How many bills have been shoveled through that the public doesn't even know about? That's a travesty in itself, because all of a sudden we wake up, the session is over, and we say, how did we let them pass that bill? Who even knew about it? The in-state tuition bill is a huge monster that is going to put Floridians out of business, as our illegals. What part of illegal people not get? Illegal is illegal, and these people are called invaders in our Constitution, and yet we are turning around and giving them in-state tuition. Why don't we give everybody in America in-state tuition? Same price, same plan. Why are we singling out a special group, which is also unconstitutional? And people have to get back to, and that's one of the things as a teacher I am dedicated to, getting back to understanding the rights that we have under the Constitution. So please go to votekarenschoen.com, make a donation. Whatever you donate is going directly into marketing materials. My staff is wonderful, filled with fabulous volunteers. They are incredible people, and we are working very hard, but we need everybody's support. So votekarenschoen.com.
Thank you very much, Karen. Really do appreciate the time, and we'll be seeing you later on today.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful show, and we will have a great convention.
All right, we'll see you later,
Alex.
Karen.
We'll see you later.
Danielle do.
All right, thank you very much. It's always, it's nice that you're hearing, all different kinds of candidates that are coming in, that are doing these things. It's beautiful. So, it's a good time. Now, let's get back to what they also did in Tallahassee, because, we got to take a break, though.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break first. We'll take a break first, and we're going to get back to the stuff that they did in Tallahassee. They passed a lot of bills, and there's a lot of things that you may not know about that we will tell you about after this. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit TackleMyTicket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at TackleMyTicket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
And we're coming back. Liberty Underground. This is the Liberty Underground Show.
Danielle, Alex, Charco's in the studio. If you don't mind, if you could, Greg, just give me 10 seconds of the chicken dance, man.
10 seconds of the chicken dance.
He has to end the first one abruptly.
I totally have to
just end it abruptly and give me 10 seconds of chicken dance, man.
I have to say, I wanted to point out when we had Brandon on. Brandon did an amazing segue into another story when he felt like we were running off on a tangent.
Yeah, he did a good job. I got to give it to Brandon for trying to control us.
Like,
he handled us well. He gave us his cell phone number. Yesterday was National Chicken Dance Day.
I think it was Wednesday. You were in a camera. You're on a camera. Yeah.
Which camera's on? I don't even know. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, all right. You can cut it now. That was 10 seconds. Charco the chicken, who was a major player in the 2010 race, is here in studio today, in town because of the convention.
Because of the convention.
Yes,
Lots of new people on the show this week because of the convention.
Yeah, it was a cool week though.
It draws them out of the woodwork.
We should do conventions more often.
No.
All right, let's get to the next thing though. The next bill that you were going to talk about in Tallahassee, which was talked about a little bit in the last segment, but let's talk about it now.
This is actually a little different bill than what we were talking about, but it's kind of along the same premise slightly. This is a bill that most people were not talking about in the media, so you didn't see a large amount of outcry like the in-state tuition for undocumented children going into college. That got a lot of media press. It got a lot of coverage. There was a lot of outrage for it on both sides. A lot of people that were very much in favor of it. A lot of people very much opposed to it. We did talk about that bill, which I'll go into again. But this is a little different bill. And what happened with this one is this is actually ended up, this was HB 755, which was actually about family court. And we ended up with a provision in here. Basically, it was really for one person, but the story could have been for anyone really. But what this would do would open it up to where an undocumented person who came here as a minor, and this is the most important part, which I don't think a lot of the press is talking about.
And this is something I learned. Something new I learned.
Yeah, an undocumented person who comes over as a minor has not actually committed a crime. While
their parents did.
Their parents did. But because they were under the age of they call it under the age of consent of travel. Because what happens is that they were not allowed to make the choice whether they wanted to commit the crime or not.
Correct.
Because it was their parents moving here, they had no other choice. They had to come. They were under an age where there was no choice. It wasn't like, I'm 9 years old, so I'm going to stay here and
Yeah, I'm going to hang out in Mexico.
Yeah.
Or whatever country.
Or whatever country your parents are from.
Pick country that is not
Yeah.
America.
Canada, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
If I was 9 years old, I wouldn't want to stay in Canada.
Yeah.
It's cold up there,
It's
man.
cold.
Like, you got a chance down south, man, but you ain't got no chance in Canada.
But if you're a minor that comes to this country with your parents, you actually have not committed a crime in the law's eyes. So as people are saying these people broke the law, no, they didn't. Their parents broke the law. They are not considered a criminal. In fact, every single person that comes here as a child is actually eligible for a work visa.
Yeah, and this is one of the like, because our immigration system isn't so screwed up. I mean, it really is totally screwed up as of right now. We incentivize illegal immigration,
Yes.
and we disincentivize legal immigration.
Right.
The quota system's bad. All this stuff is bad. But so it puts us in situations like this, and this is where there's a lot of people that really vehemently disagree on the immigration issue. Even people that believe in liberty and freedom, they still have a disagreement here when it comes to the immigration thing on how we actually fix these problems. But this one did something specific. What was the specific part of this bill?
What happens is, and this is something, and I'll go through all the provisions. So I'm going to talk about it in a broad sense, then I'm going to go through the provisions. What this would do is open up the Florida Supreme Court to allow someone who has passed the bar exam, undocumented now adult, but not the parent, would be able to be granted a law license through the bar. And I know that on the surface it looks like, well, we're giving illegal immigrants, access to be able to be lawyers. That's not true. What this says, and when you go through the provisions, they have to have been in the country for 10 years, which means that we consider a minor anyone under the age of somewhere along in the law. It has to, it's 18. Some places in the law it's 19. But that means that they basically came here as an 8, 9, 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
Possibly 12 because they've gotten through college undocumented. That could be the case. But they have to have been in the country for 10 years, which means they came here as a child. I mean, this is a small child. They also have to have received documented employment authorization from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. What happens when you come here as a minor is that you can apply for a work visa to be able to stay in this country absolutely legally. And
not citizenship.
You cannot apply for citizenship. You will never be granted citizenship, but you can have a permanent work visa, which means you are absolutely 100% allowed to stay in this country legally.
You got to pay taxes. You can't vote.
Right. You have a social security card. You pay taxes. You are here 100% legally as of that date.
Yeah.
You have to have that. You have to have received the documented employment authorization from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. You also have to have been issued a social security number. If you're male, you have to have registered with the selective service through the selective service system, which is, any male who turns 18 has to register with.
Yeah.
And you have to have fulfilled all the requirements that any other person in the state would have to fulfill to become a lawyer. You have to have gone to college. You have to have, received a certain grade point average. You have to have passed the bar exam. You have to hit all of the other requirements to be a lawyer in this country.
Yeah. On a side note, by the way, I would like to have another debate on selective service, on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but moving on.
Well, yeah, that's a debate for a different day.
Again, we're describing these things, and again, I always want to make the point here. There's a lot of things in here I don't even agree with.
Right.
Like, I don't agree with a lot of this stuff. This is an explanation as to what the bill does. Right. So just don't shoot the messenger on this one, because I'd shoot myself. Okay. So.
And then all of that would go to the Florida Supreme Court. They would have to make sure that you are here legally because, like I said, you are work visa. You have to have that work visa to be able to qualify. They have to be able to document that you have a valid work visa, which once you have the work visa, you are absolutely 100% allowed to be here and work in this country legally. So this did not grant any illegal immigrant a bar.
What the law considers to be illegal.
What the law considers an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Clearly, what people consider to be an illegal immigrant
is completely
a different story.
And I understand that.
And again, this is one of those issues where because of the situation that we're in right now in this country, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to all of these things, when it comes to the welfare state, when it comes to all this stuff right here, when it comes to all these things, is that how to fix the problem is the key here.
Right.
And that, but, they don't bring up legislation in a way
that addresses the root cause of the problem.
That addresses it. You know what I'm saying? So it's really difficult. So in this one, the law does not consider the children to be illegal.
Right.
But they still have a process to go through. Again, if they don't do these certain things, then at a certain point they would be considered illegal.
At a certain point, once you turn, I think the age if you're in college, it goes up to 26. That you don't have to apply for the work visa until you're 26. But that's only if you are in a college. You have to actually be a student to be able to extend it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you turn 18, you either apply for the work visa or you're here illegally or you're a registered student.
Yeah, exactly.
But the minute you become not a student, you have to apply for the work visa to stay here or you are here illegally. But you have to understand when you're reading through this legislation, all the terms in the law before you start talking about these things, because a lot of times people from all sides start talking about these things without understanding all the nuances of the law that makes this not as bad as what everybody's thinking that it is.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like it's one of these things that's like, it's a problem. How do you solve these things? There's a massive fix that's required.
Right.
But then there's also the little things like this, and it's a tough call. I do understand. I understand certain sides of this for certain reasons. Like, and let me give you another instance before we bring Tony on. The other thing is the tuition one. Something that I did not know is that in-state tuition is not that you get a discount from the college. It's that the government fits the bill for the difference.
Right.
So, like, I did not know this.
Right.
When I found this out, I was like, well, so when it came to the in-state tuition one, I was against it, but I was against it because I was against the subsidy in and of itself. Like, I'm against them giving it to anybody. I don't want them to give it to anybody. But if you're going to go equal protection under the law, if that's the argument you're going to have to make, then it almost makes sense that you have to do the other part.
Right.
But again, it's one of those things I understand both sides on this one, man. And honestly, they're incentivizing illegal immigration. They're doing this on purpose. They are doing this to these people on purpose. They want to keep the black market. They want to be able to drive down wages. They want to do these things. They want to do it on purpose. If they were to go through the legal system and have to go through this thing legally, those people wouldn't agree to low wages because they wouldn't have to live in the shadows. I mean, but how do you fix the problem overall? And you got to get rid of the welfare state in and of itself.
But just so that we're talking in terms of what the law sees as an illegal immigrant and what they don't. The law in this country does not see anyone who comes over here under the age of consent to be considered an illegal alien. They are not a criminal. They have broken no laws. So
as far as in the eyes of the law.
In the eyes of the law. So while we may disagree with it, we need to be talking in correct terms so that we're not, because listen, we tell the left and the right that they're demagoguing. Well, we have to make sure that we're not doing the same thing. In legal terms, in the eyes of the law, anyone who came to this country as a minor under the age of consent of travel is not considered a criminal and is not considered here illegally. They are undocumented until the age until they become an adult, and at that time they can absolutely apply for a work visa and be here legally.
But they'll never be here.
But they can never be a citizen.
But they'll never be a citizen at that point. Like, they give up the ability to ever be a citizen by doing that. Which, again, how you solve this thing, there's so many different aspects to this, how you solve it. But before we go any further on the other laws in Florida here, we got a little bit of time left here. Tony Casso is on the line. Now, Tony is running against Jack Latvala. He's running against Santa Claus, which I don't know if he's going to think about. He's going to get a coal in his stocking, because he might actually do that. Might get a coal in his stocking for this one. But it's a good run, though. He's running against Jack Latvala for state senate here in the local area. So the people listening in the audience here in Pinellas County, Tony is actually running for a seat that you're going to be able to vote for. Tony, how you doing, sir?
All right, Alex. How are you doing?
If I was doing any better, they'd find a way to tax it and regulate it, man.
Oh, gee, we can't have that.
How you doing, man? How's it going out there?
Oh, I'm doing them out there beating the bushes, just plugging away.
Now, when you
Right?
go ahead.
Just go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when you're out there and you're talking to people, especially for the seat that you're running for, because you're running against a really powerful state senator in Jack Latvala, how has the response been from the people out there towards the campaign?
Actually, it's been pretty positive. Right? Majority of the people, believe it or not, hate Jack Latvala.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe that one. I'm going to go with the believe that one instead of the not one. So,
I mean, most of the time, they ask me whom I'm running against, and I say Jack Latvala. They go to me, "You have my vote."
so you're basically saying that the platform of not being Jack Latvala has been enough for some of the voters in Pinellas County.
You should have changed your name to not Jack Latvala. So on the ballot, it would be Jack Latvala against not Jack Latvala.
Or, no, change it to other. It's always works well. Others always getting high percentages.
Right. The only thing is, right, everybody knows how powerful he is, right, and most people are afraid of him.
Well, no, a lot of people are, but I think one of the things, if you are challenging somebody like Jack Latvala, his record has been pretty clear, and I think that being able to highlight that record and to be able to show that that you're not going to do the things that he was doing up there, I think can really speak to a lot of Floridians, and that does go across party lines. There's just as many Republicans and Democrats that aren't happy with Jack Latvala, maybe not for the same reasons, but they're both unhappy with what they're getting from their representative.
Well, not only that, but, just to go back to the issue you were just talking about.
Yeah.
About the in-state tuition for undocumented students. He was the one that actually sponsored that bill. Now, when people go to look it up, they're going to see that they adopted the one by Nunez, which is the House version. But that bill was pushed by Jack Latvala.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, he was a big proponent of that. And Will Weatherford on the House side, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, I don't think he's not going to be the Speaker anymore because, his term was up for Speaker.
He's term limited out.
He's term limited out. But one of the things about that, though, is that they were pushing that one pretty heavy, that they really wanted to get this thing passed.
Before session started, he said, "This is my number one agenda."
Yeah, they were very out front about it, and Jack was the champion on the Senate side, and you had the entire the leadership of the House was all for it, so they were really working to give that subsidy to everybody.
Right, but the thing is the way, not only what the bill was, but the way they proposed it. They could have really changed that bill just by adding a few words to it, which would have made it more palatable. Right, and it was a simple fix, but they don't want a simple fix.
Well, no, of course they don't want a simple fix. If they wanted to have simple fixes, then people might understand that their jobs up there are pretty they're looking for ways to make themselves to do things instead of actually solving real problems.
Justifying the job.
Yeah, they're trying to justify their existence up there.
Well, you see, none of them are really doing their job. They really have only one job up there, and their job is to protect our rights.
Mm-hmm.
And not one of them are doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's
right. That's the only job they have. They are elected to protect our rights.
No, you're absolutely.
That's it.
No, you're absolutely right, and a lot of time I think one of the problems I really have with many of these guys up in up in Tallahassee and Washington is that you're supposed to base all of your decisions off of whether it's constitutional or not, and if the answer is no, that it's not constitutional, then there's no other argument that you need to have at that point. That you need to simply go down the road of if it's a violation of the Constitution, then you go no from there. I know that when you go out there, I know you talk about that. When Adrian goes out there, he talks about that. A lot of people go out there and have that discussion, and I don't think people even understand the level of cronyism that's going on up there as well. That's unconstitutional. The amount of money that they passed a bill to give stadiums to sports teams. And the state of Florida is now going to be giving money towards that. And to watch all these things like that, it's just it makes you sick watching it. I mean, to see how much money that they're wasting, and then when you say, well, we should cut back, the first thing they try to do is they put a gun to the students' heads and say, well, we're gonna shoot this kid if you don't give us the money. Like, why waste all the other money that you had up there? You know what I mean? It's like you guys say you care about the kids. Well, if you did, you try to cut from the cronyism, not cut from the other things.
Well, let's face it, government is broken on all levels. Totally. Because what they did, instead of making it about protecting the people's rights and doing the right thing, all they're looking to do is fleece the people and steal as much money as they can.
Yep, exactly. Now we're coming up on the end of the show. We only got a couple minutes left. Just real quickly though, Tony, can you give people your website so if they want to get involved in your campaign, where can they go?
All right, my website is votetonycasso.com. All right, just go there. You'll find a whole bunch of information. Although also other ways of contacting me. They can send me email. They can write me letters. They can call my cell phone. All the information is up there on the website, right? And we need as many people to get involved as possible, not only in my campaign, but we have a lot of good libertarian candidates running right now, and they need to be involved in everybody's campaign. Because if we all get elected, we are going to work as a team to get the right things done for the people.
Yep. No, absolutely. No, you're going to need it on multiple levels, and to see us attacking on all these different levels are phenomenal. So we're going to have to end the show, Tony. But thank you very much for calling in. We know Tony for a long time. We never really had Tony on the show, though. We're going to have to bring him back on for like just a sit down interview that gives him a little bit of time to explain some stuff here.
And we'll see you actually later on today.
Yeah, we'll see Tony later on today too. So.
Yeah, we'll see you at the convention, and if anybody wants to meet any of us, come to the convention.
Exactly. Yep. Tony will be there. Karen will be there. I'll be there. Adrian will be there.
I'll be there.
Bill will be there. Danielle will be there. Greg will be there. Charcoal will be there. A whole bunch of people are going to be there.
A bunch of people.
I could go down the list, but we ain't got that much time left, man. All right. We'll see you later, Tony.
Take care, guys. I'll see you later.
We'll see you later, Tony. Oh, it is. It is nice. We probably should have had more of the candidates calling.
We actually should have had a lot of the people.
It's good these people had some initiative.
Yeah, we actually should have had a more. It's the convention day, so just anyone who's kind of in town for the convention, let them call in. Kind of,
Yeah. But you know what? We're lucky that we have a show going today. So I'm thankful that it worked out that we had a show today.
After the last 24 hours, it is. I mean.
Florilla.
It was actually just from like dinner time last night. We were like, "Oh no, really?"
Yeah, a lot of bad stuff.
Literally had to strip our entire house.
Yeah,
like our entire house is in the garage right now.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but we got 3 minutes left. So we got 3 minutes left. Was there anything else that was on that list of things that you wanted to get to?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the list I want to get to. Not enough to actually talk about any of them.
The last one I wanted to get to. No, go ahead. What do you got?
I just wanted to rant about something. It's possible to say that Florida sheriffs have some major, minor, or whatever expertise in speeding laws, but what expertise could they possibly have in medicine? I mean, really, the cannabis thing should be between you and your doctor. End of rant. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know what? We're actually going to have a much larger rant on next week about that one because I'm really irritated about that right there. What you're talking about. Yeah. The other thing is this one event that they canceled Charlie Crist on, which I thought was actually pretty funny. I don't know exactly where. I'm trying to remember. I heard it on the radio. I actually heard it on NPR as I was driving down to do the interview on NPR, which was actually a fun interview.
Council of 100.
Yeah, the Florida Council of 100 was supposed to have Charlie Crist. They ended up not having Chris there. They canceled on him, and then Charlie Crist is blaming Rick Scott and all this other stuff. Hey, Charlie, welcome to the club, guy, that they cancel on you. Sorry about your luck. Now you know how it feels, guy. Calm down over there, big guy. It ain't no wild conspiracy. Besides, I got 2 words for you. Jim Greer. Yeah, I ain't worried about you till then, okay? So don't, hopefully this ain't the last cancellation that they give on you, because I do enjoy watching somebody cancel on you, Charlie.
But so for everyone listening, we have about 30 seconds left. Come down to the Howard Johnson in downtown Tampa. It's right off of 275, right on the corner. We will all be there. Many of the people you heard about today are going to be there, and even more people that we didn't even think to have on the show are definitely going to be there. It's going to be a good time all weekend.
It's going to be cats and dogs living together.
Mass area.
All right,
to come down and see us.
1787network.com. We'll see you guys next week.